Chapter 1143. He only wants to kill me, not the innocent. Chu Yang said indifferently, "Who is innocent?" Moreover, he clearly showed mercy when he attacked Jianghu and Qianqian. In the end, if Qianqian hadn't pounced on me at the critical moment, she wouldn't have been seriously injured at all. Super strong hands cover the sky. Jianghu has Ningbu behind her, Wuxia has Z behind her, and Qianqian has all of you behind her. He knows everything about us. Chu Yang said slowly, if it were people from other clans or people who don't belong to big clans, they would want to kill the three of them the most right now. Because after killing them, the first unlucky one would be the Zhuge clan. Because this is Tianji City, the territory and headquarters of the Zhuge clan. After he said this, everyone fell silent. Because the meaning of Chu Yang's words was already very obvious. Let me say a few words. Chu came out from the corner with an inexplicable coldness on her face. She said, I can't be sure that it's this person, but when he appeared just now, I felt very uncomfortable. Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro nodded slowly and said, since that's the case, from now on, let's not mention this matter anymore. He closed his eyes. When we recover, we will naturally have a plan. Chu Yang noticed that the direction Chu Lu came out from was the direction where Zhuge Changchang was imprisoned. Over there, Dong Wuxiang and Rui Badong had already fought to their heart's content. One had to admit that Rui Badong was indeed suppressing Dong Wuxiang this time. With the strength of a first-grade supreme martial artist, it was very easy to deal with a 7th-grade martial saint, even if it was a saber saint. However, Rui Badong had never felt relaxed before. It was only in this battle that he truly experienced Dong Wuxiang's ferocious and domineering nature. With the strength of a first-grade supreme martial artist, he was actually restrained by Dong Wuxiang. Because he didn't dare to use all his strength, but also could not use all his strength to deal with it. Using all his strength to attack and deal with the super-biological empire. Obviously, these were two different things. He was forced by Dong Wuxiang to jump up and down like a big monkey. Within moments, he was drenched in sweat and repeatedly begging for mercy. Fourth brother, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please spare me. Dong Wuxiang was also shocked because he had already used all his strength. Who would have thought that Rui Badong would actually be able to withstand it? If it was a real battle, he would have lost long ago. And he was dead. Dong Wuxiang had been able to defeat 1 or 2 martial monarchs when he had been a 7th-grade saber emperor. When he was a 7th-grade saber sovereign, he could defeat a 1st-grade martial saint as long as he went all out. Now, he was a 7th-grade saber sage. In a situation where Rui Badong, a 1st-grade supreme martial artist, couldn't attack with all his might, he was actually having such a hard time. He watched as the two of them stopped. Rui Badong shrieked as if he had seen a ghost and fled in a sorry state. Dong Wuxiang's expression was grave. Yu Lingxue seemed to know what Dong Wuxiang was thinking. Supremes were different. You will only be able to understand this difference once you become a supreme being. Dong Wuxiang pondered for a while before he replied solemnly, yes. At this moment, a scream that seemed to have been suppressed for a long time suddenly rang out. It was a miserable scream. It was so painful that it made one's hair stand on end. Zhuge Changchang. After this scream, it actually stopped abruptly. Immediately, there was a kind of oppressive feeling. It was as if this scream had been suppressed for a long time by the pain, but just as it was released, it was suppressed by the pain so much that it couldn't make a sound. Chu Yang's heart trembled. He went over at the same time as Dong Wuxiang and the others. At a glance, the two of them actually trembled all over. Zhuge Changchang's flesh and blood were almost all torn apart. All the tendons in his body had already bulged out of his body. They were knotted together. They were bulging and bursting apart. In his flesh and blood, they were almost transparent. His whole body had inadvertently curled up into a ball. Inadvertently, it was stretched even longer. Inadvertently, it was stretched into a grotesque shape. The romantic politics of rebirth. This kind of pain could no longer be described as being cut into pieces. The most miserable thing was that there was actually something else. On his body, his tendons and blood vessels were constantly bulging out. Once they bulged out, his flesh and blood would burst open. his flesh and blood would split open and blood would flow out. And that split open flesh and blood would instantly turn into a strange gray color. After turning gray, some small squirming worms would immediately grow on it. They would try their best to burrow into Zhuge Changchang's body. After burrowing in, they would stir in his flesh and devour his flesh and blood. And on the outside, they would immediately be covered with a layer of white maggots. Wriggling and squirming, Zhuge Changchang opened his mouth wide, but he couldn't make a sound. He wasn't restrained in any way, but he couldn't make a single sound. He was completely controlled by the pain. The most horrifying thing was that his body was being destroyed over and over again. He was being tortured over and over again, but he was also being regenerated over and over again. The broken flesh and blood were being drilled into by those tiny worms, and then maggots came out. Then they were actually being healed, and then they were being torn open again. It was obvious that they didn't want him to die. They wanted him to live and bear this kind of punishment. Ugh. Chu Yang shouted, "What's the matter with you?" Chu answered and came over. She was actually very confused. "What's the matter?" Looking inside, she suddenly screamed and covered her eyes with both hands. She said in a panic, "How did this happen?" Dong Wushang and the others looked at Chu Lu as if they had seen a ghost. This state that was 100 times worse than hell was actually caused by Chu Lu? What kind of poison did you use? Chu Yang asked the online game priest Xiao. I hated him for hurting my father, so I poisoned him with a few kinds of poison. After that, I left. I didn't expect this to happen. Chu Lu's heart thumped wildly. She never expected that the few kinds of poisons she used would actually reach such a state. There was spirit-breaking powder, life and death pill, tendon-splitting powder, 10,000 years corpse poison, decay poison, and goo poison. Myriad incarnation goo, and finally, innate poison, Chu Lu murmured. I used all those poisons that are said to be able to make one wish for death. Together, everyone was dumbfounded and felt a chill run down their spines. It was really her. Such a pure, cute, and shy little girl, who looked like a pure white flower, had personally created a hell on earth. Even Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro, who had just walked over, shuddered. When they looked at Chu Lu again, it was as if they were looking at a monster or a demon. These poisons, where did you get them from? Chu Yang asked with a crooked mouth and eyes. I don't need to get them from anywhere. Chu Lu said innocently, I only need to circulate my poison techniques and I can use any kind of poison I want. You know this. Oh my God. Chu Yang held his head with both hands. What kind of person have I personally taught? Oh my God. Let me kill him. Dong Wushang casually broke a tree branch and stabbed it into Zhuge Changchang's heart. Under such a heavy blow, Zhuge Changchang's heart instantly shattered into pieces. However, the pain in his body still continued. It's useless. Yu Lingxue was full of wariness. A portion of these poisons were imagined by Wu Jueqing back then. Wu Jueqing didn't have an innate poison body, so although he knew that these poisons could produce the latest chapter of Shen Nong's monstrous life, he couldn't do anything about it. However, he was powerless to do anything about it. These poisons were useless even if he died. With that life and death pill, spirit-shattering powder, corpse poison, rotting poison, and myriad incarnation goo, even if a person dies, his soul will also be trapped in his body. He will continue to be tortured. Cold sweat broke out on Dong Wushang's head. There's actually such a thing. How tyrannical was this poison? The only thing that could be endured was death. However, under this poison, even death couldn't be avoided. Burn him completely. Even his bones will be burned to ashes and he will be relieved of his pain. However, he will also disappear completely. Otherwise, even if only a large piece of his soul is left, he will continue to lie on top of it and suffer the pain of his soul shattering. Everyone stared blankly, dumbfounded. The culprit, Miss Chu Lu, even shrank into Chu Yang's arms like a quail. She covered her eyes with her hands, not even daring to look. Let me see, let me see. An excited voice rang out. It was Wu Jueqing. At this moment he was being carried forward by Meng Qiren, his face full of cold sweat. His spine and pelvis, which had only now begun to heal slowly, were now moving. Now that he moved, the pain doubled. The broken bones of his spine and pelvis that had just started to heal started to intertwine again. This kind of pain was no different from an extreme punishment. However, he actually didn't care about the doubled pain and urged Meng Chaoran to carry him over. His face was full of cold sweat and his whole body was in so much pain that sweat kept breaking out. However, he still had an excited look on his face. Meng Chaoran carried him forward and looked inside. This poison doctor from back then suddenly opened his mouth wide and his eyes wide. He was making noises, as if he was a mortal who had seen a deity. Oh my God! This poison doctor from back then opened his mouth wide and exclaimed, "Which deity made this great achievement? The Empire has once again started an all-out war. Such immortal creation, such uncanny workmanship. This old man is really in awe. I'm sincerely convinced." Everyone shuddered again. They turned around and looked at this one of the tribulations back then, the poison master of the heavens now, with a strange look in their eyes. This is too great. Wu Jueqing was still in so much pain that he was sweating profusely. However, his body was actually twisting excitedly. Everyone's faces twitched. "Big brother, don't you know that twisting like this will make all your previous efforts go to waste?" Thinking about how Wu Jueqing was feeling now, everyone was sweating profusely. A person whose spine and pelvis were completely shattered was actually dancing and twisting his buttocks? What kind of feeling was this? Chapter 1144. Everyone was dumbstruck. Rui Badong finally couldn't stand the series of "oh my gods" anymore. He carried in a huge bundle of firewood and threw it on the ground. Then he went to the room and took out 2 barrels of oil. Using a long wooden stick, he lifted Zhuge Changchang's body into the barrel and placed him at the top. Then he started a fire. The flames burned fiercely, bringing with them a strange pungent smell. Zhuge Changchang's body was actually still spasming and twisting in the fire. Even his legs were burned off and the bones on his upper body were still twisting and turning. Hid in Chu Yang's arms, trembling all over. Mo Qingwu hid on the other side. The 2 little girls were like doves that had lost all their feathers in the snow, shivering. Everyone was speechless. They really didn't know what to say. The culprit had used it without even knowing. Now, everyone was actually not as frightened as the culprit. While the fire was crackling and burning, Wu Jueqing was prattling on and on. "Who used the poison? Why did it burn? Bastard! Who told you to burn it? Who used the poison? Who? Everyone looked at Chulu, speechlessly. Wu Jueqing followed everyone's gaze and saw a little girl with a pale face and tears in her eyes. He couldn't help but be shocked. He said in disbelief, "Could it be, cough, cough, cough?" Chu Yang coughed dryly a few times and said, "It's like this. By chance, I obtained a book called Guide to the World's Poisons. Then, I saw that my little sister seemed to be extremely interested in using poisons. So, I threw the book to her and let her practice on her own. Later, Lord Z came and also promoted my little sister's cultivation a little. Cough, cough. It seems to be like this." Wu Jueqing's breathing quickened. He looked at Chu Lu with bulging eyes, making some noise in his throat. "Guide to the world of poisons? Practice it for fun? Unable to control himself, this poison doctor rolled his eyes again and again. He wanted to say something, but he suddenly bit his tongue. Then, when he wanted to open his mouth to speak again, his face suddenly turned red, and in the next moment, he fainted. Lord Wu couldn't help but feel faint. He had spent his entire life studying the Heaven and Earth Poison Compendium. But he was still unable to use the most crucial poisons even though he was proficient in using them. It was one thing to think about it, but whether or not it could be used was the key. Now, this little girl had only followed a book to self-study, and she had actually managed to come up with it. Even if Lord Wu hadn't been injured, he would have fainted in such a situation, let alone now that he was heavily injured. Meng Chao ran hurriedly carried him back. Chu Yang followed them in and inspected him. He couldn't help but click his tongue. The poison doctor's bones, which had just begun to heal, were completely torn apart again. Chu Yang sighed. Although he understood Wu Jueqing's feelings, he still didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After treating Wu Jueqing's injuries, Chu Yang was just about to go out when he saw Wu Jueqing open his eyes. At this moment, all the grief and indignation in Wu Jueqing's eyes suddenly disappeared. Then he looked at Chu Yang and said quietly, "Wait for me." Then he closed his eyes. Chu Yang was here. He sat down beside the table. Then he witnessed an astonishing scene. A white cloud emerged from Wu Jueqing's body and started to circle around Wu Jueqing's body. With every circle, the white cloud shrank by the size of a fist. When it reached his thigh, the white cloud disappeared without a trace. Immediately after, a fresh wind blew. Just like the morning breeze in spring. Fresh and natural, refreshing and refreshing. The morning breeze blew, but it didn't blow anything. It only blew on Wu Jueqing himself. And Wu Jueqing's body, like a piece of dead wood that had already decayed a little, suddenly started to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. The originally dead muscles and skin started to recover just like that, regaining vitality. And his face also slowly became rosy. When the morning wind stopped, Chu Yang could clearly hear creaking sounds. It seemed to be coming from within Wu Jueqing's body, as if the bones were automatically returning to their original positions and healing. Wu Jueqing finally stopped. He opened his eyes and looked at Chu Yang. With a slight smile, he actually sat up from the bed. The next moment he moved his arms and neck, moved his waist and legs, and tried to stand up from the bed. Then he actually tried to walk a few steps. The more he walked, the smoother it became. Chu Yang's eyes widened. Watching this miracle happen in front of him, he only felt that his brain was already in a knot and he couldn't speak. At the current stage of Wu Jueqing's injuries, other than the complete version of the heavy pill, there was no other medicine in the world that could heal him. But now, a miracle appeared before his eyes. Wu Jueqing didn't even rely on any medicine, just a morning breeze and a cloud, and he recovered. What was going on? Do you think it's very magical? Wu Jueqing looked at Chu Yang and asked with a smile. Yes, it's very magical. Chu Yang nodded. It's not magical. Wu Jueqing's eyes were filled with longing, affection, and emotion. He said, "My ancestors are Qin Feng and Lu Yun. Back then, when I was deceived into becoming a tribulation, my ancestors had already left the heavens continent. The reason why I was able to survive until the last moment was that my ancestors had divined that I would face a great tribulation in this life, and each of them gave me 3 streams of vital energy. Qin Feng and Lu Yun's vital energy." Chu Yang asked in shock. "I have my ancestors' vital energy in me. Therefore, although my physical body was destroyed back then, I was able to escape from the heaven-mending cave at the last moment with the vital energy. And over a relatively long period of time, I gradually recovered my physical body." Wu Jueqing smiled lightly. "That time, I used 2 gusts of morning breeze and 2 drifting clouds. If this vital energy only existed in my body and wasn't used, my ancestors wouldn't suffer any losses. But once I used it, my ancestors would be weakened and hurt to a certain extent. Therefore, unless I had no other choice, I didn't dare to use it, nor could I bear to use it. Today, this is the 3rd cloud and the 3rd morning breeze." Wu Jueqing stared at Chu Yang. "Do you understand what I mean?" "I understand." Chu Yang nodded. "Due to my severe injuries this time, the ancestors' life force can only help me heal my injuries. As for my cultivation, perhaps it can only help me recover half of it." Wu Jueqing sensed himself for a moment and said solemnly, "But I can't not use it, especially after discovering this little girl." He chuckled. Completely self-taught, she actually knew the guide to poisons of the world. And she could actually condense that kind of poison on her own. "How could I let go of such a talent?" He said solemnly, "This poison is the biggest regret in my life. It's more important to me than my life." Chu Yang asked tentatively, "Elder, what do you mean?" Wu Jueqing's eyes flashed. He said, "Let that girl in. Let me take a look." Chu Yang nodded. He got up and walked to the door. "Come in for a while." Chu agreed and ran over quickly. After entering, She saw that Wu Jueqing had actually stood up. The little girl was also shocked. Her mouth opened wide and she exclaimed, "Why are you standing up?" "Why I'm standing up is not important. What's important is you." Wu Jueqing smiled. "Go, come here. Let me take a look at you." Chu looked at Chu Yang doubtfully. Chu Yang nodded encouragingly. Chu Lu walked over meekly. "Girl, let me ask you, did you cultivate this guide to poisons of the world by yourself?" Wu Jueqing asked kindly. Chu Lu nodded. "Sometimes, Big Brother also helps me explain and ponder over it. But these few days, I've been reading, memorizing, and experimenting on my own." "He helped you explain?" Wu Jueqing rolled his eyes and glanced at Chu Yang. He said disdainfully, "What's the use of him helping you explain? He's someone who doesn't know anything." Chu Yang smiled bitterly. "Big Brother is the person I respect the most." Chu Lu's face darkened. Looking at this world-renowned poison doctor, she actually warned him. Cough, cough, cough. Wu Jueqing choked and coughed violently. He stared at the little girl, dumbfounded. The little girl's expression was resolute. "Anyone who dares to insult my big brother has to apologize." Apologize? Wu Jueqing was confused. Do immortals have to apologize if they insult him? Chu Lu pursed her lips and said, "So what if they're immortals? Even if they're higher than immortals, they have to apologize if they insult my big brother." Chu Lu said dispassionately, "My poison can kill people now. In the future, it may not be impossible for it to kill immortals. Even in the world after the void-shattering realm, as long as there's a suitable poison, can't it spread over millions of miles?" Wu Jueqing was shocked. He stared at Chu Lu, dumbfounded. Even in the world after the void-shattering realm, as long as there's a suitable poison, can't it spread over millions of miles? The shock that this sentence had on this poison doctor was unparalleled. He had never thought that his poison would be able to kill an immortal, not to mention using poison to massacre the world above the heavens. But this little girl's thoughts were actually so crazy. Just because someone insulted her big brother, she actually wanted to spread her poison over millions of miles? What the heck? I like this kind of character. The next moment, Wu Jueqing suddenly beamed with delight. He actually bent down toward Chu Yang. "I'm sorry, Brother Chu. I shouldn't have insulted you. I apologize. Please forgive me." Chu Yang was shocked. Looking at Wu Jueqing, who was bent over in front of him with his forehead almost touching the ground, his eyes widened. His eyebrows flew up to his forehead. He blurted out, "Fuck." Wu Jueqing rolled his eyes. He didn't expect that his first sincere apology in his life would only get such a word in return. Chapter 1145. Why do you want to see my physique? Chu Lu asked. Why do you want to see my physique? Looking at Wu Jueqing in front of her, Chu Lu took 2 steps back instead, her face full of vigilance. Why does everyone want to see my physique now? Wu Jueqing was taken aback. I'm just looking, nothing else. Your big brother is right beside you, how can I harm you? Chu Lu snorted and said, That's hard to say. As she spoke, she looked at Chu Yang for help. Big brother. Chu Yang knew that this was probably a great opportunity for Chu Lu. This person in front of him was the author of the Guide to the World of Poison. This person's poison skills were absolutely at the acme of perfection. He said, Elder Wu is a senior expert. Besides, aren't there still many things you don't understand from the Guide to the World of Poison? This Elder Wu before you is the author of that book. Chu Lu tilted her head and said, All right, I'll let you see then. Her voice seemed to be giving Wu Jueqing a great gift. Wu Jueqing said excitedly, Good, good. Then he reached out and placed his hand on Chu Lu's wrist. Then he was taken aback. He blurted out, Innate spiritual body? His expression became serious. Then, as if he had sensed something, he was suddenly shocked again. Not only innate spiritual body, but also martial saint level cultivation? At such a young age. Then he shuddered violently. His finger flicked away from Chu Lu's wrist and he exclaimed, Oh my God! Innate poison meridians, innate poison body, Oh my god. Cough cough cough. Chu Yang wanted to laugh but was too embarrassed to do so. He could only hold it in and cough a few times. He had to remind this old man, "You are the descendant of Qin Feng, one of the tribulations from tens of thousands of years ago, an expert who has surpassed supreme martial artists. Can you not be so alarmed? Take note of your status and poise, you must have poise." But Wu Jueqing had obviously already tossed poise and status out of the window. She stared at Chu Le with trembling hands as she exclaimed, "Oh my god. Oh my god. So that's how it is. I see. So there is actually such a person and such a body in this world. Oh my god." Chu Le widened her eyes and returned to Chu Yang's side in fear. She leaned on him and whispered, "Big brother, is this old man crazy? Cough, your aptitude is too good. That's why he's shocked." Chu Yang coughed dryly and explained in a low voice, "You should really be proud. To be able to shock the poison doctor Wu Jueqing to this extent. I reckon you're the only one in history who can do that." "Oh," Chu Le replied and said, "so my physique is still considered good. I've been tortured since I was born, and I've been tortured for more than 10 years. I've been running back and forth in hell every day. I can actually shock people to this extent." Chu Yang coughed and said, "Yes. If you don't experience setbacks, how can you see the rainbow? To you, the pain is already a thing of the past. It has become a capital that will never be erased. And in front of you is a rainbow path that leads straight to the clouds." Hee hee. Chu pursed her lips and laughed. "Chu Yang, I have something to tell you." On the other side, Wu Jueqing shouted, What is it?" Chu Yang actually knew what was going on, but he still pretended to be confused. "Let your younger sister acknowledge me as her master." Wu Jueqing's eyes were shining. He grabbed Chu Yang's hand with one hand and gripped Chu Yang's shoulder with the other. "Let this girl acknowledge me as her master." He used so much force that Chu Yang's shoulder actually made cracking sounds. "What the heck? Let go of your hand first. My shoulder is going to break." Chu Yang was in so much pain that even his nose and eyes were wrinkled together. "Oh." Wu Jueqing hurriedly let go of his hand, his expression somewhat embarrassed. Chu Yang rubbed his shoulder and said exasperatedly, "If you want to take in a disciple, you have to ask for the opinion of the person in question, right? What's with crushing my shoulder?" Wu Jueqing snorted and said, "Who can't tell that this little girl listens to everything you say? If you say yes, she won't say no. If you say no, even if I'm a deity, she won't acknowledge me as her master." This poison doctor was really smart. He actually saw the crux of the matter so quickly. Chu Yang had no choice but to ask Chu Lu, "What do you think?" Chu Lu's expression was complicated. She said, "I'll listen to Big Brother." Chu Yang thought for a while, still unable to make up his mind. To Chu Lu, Wu Jueqing could be said to be the most suitable master in the world. Even someone from the heavenly imperial court might not be more suitable than Wu Jueqing. But Chu Yang was still worried about Chu Lu's safety. His identity as the master of the tribulation sword had to be announced to the world eventually. When the time came, if Wu was by Wu Jueqing's side, would he hurt Chu Lu? "What else are you troubled about?" Wu Jueqing was a little anxious. He made threatening gestures and said, "What's there to consider about such a good thing? Hurry up and let this little girl acknowledge me as her master. I'm the only one who truly knows her value. I'm also the only one who truly knows where she's heading in the future. Others can only see her free and natural physique. Innate free and natural physique is nothing." It was rare to see a disciple so suitable for him. Having a successor for his lifelong legacy was a great joy in his life. But this little girl was dawdling. Her mind was elsewhere. This was really the first time Wu Jueqing had encountered such a situation. With his status, if he shouted that he wanted to take in a disciple, even if he had to make people kneel and kowtow 108,000 miles away, the queue would be from the southeast all the way to the northwest. Why was it so worthless in the eyes of these two siblings? "I can accept her as my disciple, but I have a request," said Chu Yang. "Request? Say it." Wu Jueqing was practically exasperated. I want to accept a disciple and I actually have to agree to his request. What the heck, is it so difficult to be a master nowadays? That's right, no matter when, no matter what happens, you cannot hurt Lu, said Chu Yang solemnly. Shut your fucking mouth. How can I hurt my disciple? Wu Jueqing blew his top and glared at him. What a bastard. This kind of worry is simply unreasonable. Chu Yang said calmly, I don't know if I'm a bastard or not, but I only want this one condition. No matter when, no matter what, you cannot hurt her. I agree. Wu Jueqing was so angry that he laughed instead. He said, she's my successor. Even if this girl were to poison me to death in the future, I would still close my eyes with a smile and say joyfully, the student has surpassed the master. Will that do? Chu Yang smiled. Thank you for your understanding, elder. When the time comes, please don't forget to say, the student has surpassed the master. Wu Jueqing was exasperated. He said furiously, you really want me to be poisoned to death by my disciple? Chu Yang burst into laughter. He gave Chu Le a look and said, aren't you going to greet your master? Chu Le responded with an "oh" in confusion and looked at Wu Jueqing. However, she saw Wu Jueqing's hands shaking like rattledrums, his face flushed red with agitation. He said, acknowledging a master and accepting a disciple is a major event in one's life. How can it be done so hastily? We have to find a few witnesses and make it a little more grand. Chu Yang and Chu Le were stunned. This master actually wanted to make it a little more grand under such circumstances. However, Wu Jueqing muttered to himself, now, let Moon Breeze be the witnesses first. It's not enough. With everyone as witnesses, it's barely enough. Let's establish the master-disciple relationship first. When I recover from my injuries, we'll hold a disciple acceptance ceremony and receive some congratulatory gifts. Damn it, if any big clan doesn't come to congratulate me or send gifts, I'll go and destroy them. Law enforcement officers have to come too. If any law enforcement officers don't send gifts, I'll destroy them too. Huh? Chu Yang was speechless. Nonsense, it's a major event in the heavens for me to accept a disciple. If no one comes to congratulate me, my disciple won't have any face either. Wu Jueqing glared. Chu Yang raised his hands in surrender. You're right. You're awesome. I'm convinced. The speechlessness in his heart was really indescribable. Moon Breeze was one of the top 5 in the heavens that one couldn't afford to offend. To be the witnesses for him accepting a disciple was actually a little not enough. He was just accepting a disciple and he actually had to hold a ceremony. Ordering the whole world to send gifts, must he cause a sensation in the heavens? It looked like this descendant of Chunfeng was really a little strange. He was really domineering too, but from this, it could also be seen that Wu Jueqing really valued Chu Le to the extreme. Wu Jueqing called out, Yu Lingxue, Feng Yuro, Meng Chaoran and a few other juniors. Come in, come in. I have something important to announce. After a short pause, Moon Breeze, Meng Chaoran, Dong Wushang, Rui Badong, Mo Lei, Mo Qingwu and the others gathered together. Wu Jueqing instructed Dong Wushang and Rui Badong, go get a few chairs for everyone to sit down. Also, find some incense and candles. In any case, the more the better. The two of them went out in confusion. In no time, they came back with all the items. Everyone sat down and looked at Wu Jueqing, all of them confused. Wu Jueqing said, Chu Yang, you'll be the MC. Chu Yang almost spat out. Did he have to sit on the bench with his butt bare like this? Helpless, he could only force him to do something beyond his ability. Seeing that everyone had taken their seats, Chu Yang coughed and was about to prepare for his MC job when he heard Wu Jueqing say, Don't laugh. Sit up straight. How can you be like this at such a serious moment? Chu Yang almost choked to death. He turned to look and saw Wu Jueqing sitting right below, upright and still, his countenance solemn and his expression serious. Chu Yang cleared his throat again and said, I've gathered everyone here today because of an important matter. Wu Jueqing cut him off. It's a very important matter. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and said, I've invited everyone here to be witnesses. Wu Jueqing cut him off. This is your honor. Chapter 1146. Wu Jueqing was stunned. I was just adding. Seeing Chu Yang's murderous gaze, he had no choice but to compromise. Go on then, I'll add on. Add on my foot. Can you shut up first? Chu Yang asked angrily. Can you not be so annoying? Wu Jueqing glared and cursed under his breath before he turned his head away. Chu Yang glared at him for a while before he turned to look at everyone. Cough cough. It's like this. Today, Elder Wu Jueqing has taken a liking to my sister Chu Lu'er's physique and wants to take her in as a disciple. This is my sister's great fortune. It's also Elder Wu's fortune. Wu Jueqing dug his ears in displeasure and rolled his eyes at Chu Yang. This matter has been discussed and agreed upon by both parties. Of course, it's definitely a great fortune for my sister to become Elder Wu's disciple. Furthermore, Elder Wu Jueqing has promised to nurture my sister Chu Lu'er with all his might. He has also sworn to the ancestors that no matter when and no matter what, he will never hurt my sister. Wu Jueqing's eyes widened. He wanted to ask, when did I swear to the ancestors? However, Chu Yang pretended that he didn't see it and continued to talk nonstop. Today, all of you are here to witness this grand event of the heavens. A peerless expert, Poison Doctor Wu Jueqing, has finally accepted a disciple. And the disciple he has accepted is my sister, Chu Lu. After he finished speaking, Chu Yang swept his gaze across the room. Everyone was shocked by this news and didn't recover for a long time. Wu Jueqing sat there. Originally, he was very comfortable with Chu Yang's last few words, smiling with his eyes narrowed. But after a long while, he felt that something was wrong. Frowning, he said angrily, "Why aren't you clapping?" Clap, clap, clap. Rui Badong hurriedly clapped and cheered loudly. Good, good. Congratulations to Lu for becoming a disciple of a great master. Congratulations to Elder Wu for taking in a great disciple. Clap, clap, clap. Mo Lei also hurriedly clapped. Everyone applauded at the same time. Ribadong even pouted his lips and whistled, the sound lingering in the air. The atmosphere indeed became very lively. The Moon Breeze couple had already guessed it. They smiled and applauded. Cough cough, let's begin the ceremony. Elder Wu Jueqing, please take a seat. Chu Yang said solemnly. In fact, he was already laughing so hard in his heart that he was about to burst out laughing. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that someone like Wu Jueqing would actually care so much about a ceremony. What he didn't know, however, was that Wu Jueqing came from a big clan. Things like rituals and etiquette had long been ingrained in his bones and couldn't be abolished. No matter how high his cultivation was or how calm his temperament was, when it came to the serious things in the depths of his memories, he would always do things the same way he did back then. Wu Jueqing coughed. He stood up solemnly and steadily and said, "All right." He strode forward, his expression solemn and his eyes even carrying a hint of reminiscence. There were even some nostalgia. Perhaps Chu Yang and the others would never be able to understand what Wu Jueqing was feeling at this moment. Because at this moment, he recalled the time when his clan was still around and worshipped his ancestors. He recalled the time when he had wandered the martial world and met his own teacher who had imparted him the art of poison. At that time, the situation of the apprenticeship. As he thought about it, Wu Jueqing suddenly had a feeling of time going back. He couldn't help but feel a little sour in his heart. He recalled something his teacher had said, "Our sect, when cultivated to the extreme, is enough to move unhindered in the heavens and slaughter immortals and demons. It's a pity that with our aptitude, we can't reach that level. We can only cultivate the guide to the world of poison." The guide to the world of poison, as the name suggests, is only below the heavens and not above the heavens. He remembered asking back then, teacher, is there above the heavens?" At that time, his teacher had replied, "Above the heavens, there is. That is the poison scripture of the imperial court. That is the true first-grade poison technique. If one cultivates the poison scripture of the imperial court, just like the current heavenly continent, with just a wave of the hand, one can annihilate all three heavens. Where is the poison scripture of the imperial court? In the heavenly imperial court. Besides, with your aptitude, Even if you find the poison scripture of the imperial court, it's useless. Because you can't cultivate it. Then what kind of person can cultivate it? Innate poison meridians, innate poison body, and innate poison. As long as one of the three conditions is met, one can cultivate the poison scripture of the imperial court. With our aptitude, neither of us is suitable. If we force ourselves to cultivate it, we will be poisoned to death by the poison scripture of the imperial court. Since that's the case, how did teacher know about this? He remembered that when he asked this question, his teacher was silent for a long time before he said, "The founder of our sect is the supreme poison master of the heavenly imperial court. It was because of poison that he was crippled. He desperately escaped and came to the heavenly imperial court. That's how the guide to the world of poison came about. But, even until his death, he couldn't forget his wish to return to the heavenly imperial court. Because he only cultivated half of the poison scripture of the imperial court. After cultivating the other half, he would be able to run amok in the heavenly imperial court. What I'm going to tell you next is the location of the poison scripture of the imperial court. You must remember to pass it down from generation to generation. If you meet the successor of the innate poison meridians, you must tell him and nurture him to rush to the heavenly imperial court and cultivate the poison scripture of the imperial court. Revitalize the prestige of our sect. Our sect is called the Heaven Poison Mansion. Wu Jueqing felt bitter in his heart. Teacher, do you know that I've finally found this person today? Not only does he have innate poison, but he also has innate poison meridians and an innate poison body. I've finally found the successor of the Heaven Poison Mansion. I've found the hope of the Heaven Poison Mansion. Wu Jueqing was in a trance. He only felt his knees hit something hard before he abruptly realized that he had already walked to the front of Gui's tall armchair. If he were to walk any further, the armchair would be knocked over by him. Everyone around him looked at him strangely. Wu Jueqing took a deep breath. Turning around, he lifted his robes and slowly sat down. Both his hands were placed properly on the two handles of the armchair. Today was the first day of the rise of the Heaven Poison Mansion. That was the rise of the heavenly imperial court. Who would know the solemnity of my heart? The second part of the apprenticeship ceremony is for the disciple to serve tea. Chu Yang, the MC, was really an amateur because he had never done it before. Even he himself had done it when he was still an infant. He had never seen how it was like for others to do it, much less have any memory of it. Chu Lo went forward and served him a cup of hot tea respectfully. A smile appeared on Wu Jueqing's face. He took the cup and drank it in one gulp. His expression turned strange at once. He almost spat it on Chu Yang, the MC's face. What kind of tea was this? This was obviously a big cup of vinegar. And there was salt. And mustard. Damned little girl. See how I'll train you in the future. Wu Jueqing smiled gently, a hint of annoyance flashing across his eyes. A cup of tea was stuck in his throat, but he couldn't swallow it down no matter what. After a long while, his Adam's apple finally moved. In the end, he still managed to swallow this special cup of apprenticeship tea. Next, the next part is for the disciple to count. 3 koutas. Chu Yang announced loudly. The Moon Breeze couple twisted their thighs, trying their best not to laugh out loud. How could there be an apprenticeship ceremony like this? 3 kowtows just like that? Didn't they have to report to the sect's ancestors, then burn incense and pray, then show the token, then, finally, 3 kowtows to be considered an apprentice? This Chu Yang is really too simple. Wu Jueqing sat on top, taking in the strange expressions of the Moon Breeze couple. He coughed and said, "We're all children of the martial world. Why bother about whether the etiquette is right or not? Cough, cough, cough. Cough, 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 cough." Wu Jueqing's words didn't matter, but Chu Yang, who was acting as the MC, suddenly choked and coughed so hard that his face and neck turned red. He really didn't expect Wu Jueqing to be able to say such a funny thing. It was really too unexpected. Seeing that his disciple was kowtowing while Chu Yang was coughing nonstop at the side, Wu Jueqing almost died of anger. He tried his best to maintain the smile on his face and said kindly, "My beloved disciple, please rise." Only then did he really laugh. Sigh, he finally accepted this disciple. He helped Chu up and kicked the still coughing Chu Yang. He said angrily, "It's done. What kind of MC are you?" Everyone burst into laughter. Only then did the atmosphere relax. Chu Yang hurriedly shouted again, "The ceremony is over." Everyone laughed and joked, and the sounds of celebration rang out continuously. Wu Jueqing smiled cheerfully and exchanged pleasantries with everyone. Chu Yang suddenly had a clear feeling. Wu Jueqing seemed to have changed into a different person. It seemed that after experiencing this ceremony, he was somewhat enlightened? Or let go of something? Let go of something? When no one was paying attention, Chu Yang leaned close to Wu Jueqing's ear and said, "Elder Wu, this ceremony seems to be very important to you?" Wu Jueqing was taken aback. He smiled lightly and said, "Chu Yang, life is a ceremony." Chu Yang was taken aback. As he mulled over this sentence, he suddenly felt a little emotional. Emole and Emo Qinggu went to prepare the dishes. Everyone wanted to celebrate. Chu Lu also wanted to help but was stopped by everyone. What a joke! Even if the dishes you make are the most delicious in the world, probably no one would dare to eat them. After seeing Zhuge Changchang's tragic state, if anyone still dared to eat Chu Lu's dishes, how big of a nerve would that person have? Seeing everyone reject her unanimously, Chu Lu felt a little wronged. Chu Yang leaned close to the little girl's ear and said, "Prepare a few dishes for me tonight. Our family surnamed Chu will celebrate for you." The little girl smiled through her tears and kissed Chu Yang on the cheek. She smiled like a flower. "Big brother is the best." Chu Yang laughed loudly. The dishes and wine were served. Emole had become a culinary expert during this period of time. The dishes she made really looked, smelled, and tasted good. Everyone chatted as they ate. Chapter 1147. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat as he recalled Wu Jueqing's identity. This person was one of the tribulations back then. Tribulations and their master had always been a thorn in Chu Yang's heart. They were also an eternal mystery. The Dharma Supreme claimed to be one of the tribulations. Chu Yang believed him. He also believed what he said at the beginning. But later on, as the Dharma Supreme became more and more sinister, Chu Yang gradually became suspicious. In the end, even if he wanted to choose to believe, he didn't have a choice. Right now, Wu Jueqing was the best candidate. What he said would definitely be more credible than what the Dharma Supreme said. Chu Yang took advantage of the alcohol and said, "Elder Wu's brothers back then must also be all-powerful heroes." Wu Jueqing smiled lightly and said, "My brothers may not necessarily be all-powerful heroes, but they truly loved and cared for me. We were sincere to each other, so we had nothing to fear." Chu Yang said, "Oh? Can Elder Wu tell us the stories of your seniors so that we can also broaden our horizons?" Wu Jueqing chuckled. He picked up a cup of wine and drank it in one gulp. He said, "My brothers. Those were my brothers. My brother is heroic and chivalrous, proud and awe-inspiring, indomitable, iron-blooded man. Every one of them was the best." "How good is it?" Dong Wushang interjected. Feng Yuro looked thoughtful. She said, "Can Brother Wu tell us about back then? Back then back then?" Wu Jueqing pursed his lips, a hint of haziness in his eyes. He drank 3 big bowls of wine in a row and said, "Let's talk about myself. Firstly, I want to warn everyone. Secondly, my little disciple also needs to know what kind of person her master is. In front of so many people, I also want to be a witness for myself." Everyone stopped eating and listened to him attentively. Wu Jueqing smiled lightly and said, "Let's talk while eating. My story isn't very pleasant to listen to. It's fine if everyone has heard it." As he spoke, he raised his cup in invitation. But what interest did they have in eating and drinking at this moment? The story of tribulations. The first secret of the heavens. My temper wasn't like this in the past. Wu Jueqing's indifferent voice. I, Wu Jueqing, was born into an aristocratic family. Back then, my clan was also one of the big clans. In my generation, there were many heroes. Countless geniuses. I'm just a man. Wu Jueqing let out a self-mocking laugh. To be honest, all of you may have noticed it as well. Even now, after several tens of thousands of years, I still carry with me a kind of manly mannerisms. I just want to live a carefree life. I don't want to get involved in the family's power struggle. Therefore, when my brothers were fighting for the position of the patriarch, I quietly slipped away and wandered the Jianghu. Several years have passed. Other than going home to visit my parents every year, I've basically been wandering outside. But my brothers still wouldn't let me off. They hired countless assassins to assassinate me. So, I fought like this. I fought whoever came. I know who sent them, but I didn't go home to settle the score with any of them. It was at that time that I met my teacher. Wu Jueqing smiled lightly and said, I learned a lot of poison techniques. Later on, I felt sad staying in the upper three heavens. So, I went to the lower three heavens to travel. I met a person, a scholar. At that time, I was already a martial saint. But that person was only a martial grandmaster. But for some reason we hit it off very well. We wandered the Jianghu together. I always showed that my cultivation was weaker than his, and he always took care of me. He protected me with his life several times. I was very touched and became sworn brothers with him. I was 1 year younger than him. I respected him as my big brother. Later on, my big brother and I wandered the Jianghu. His strength improved very quickly. Moreover, he had an inexhaustible supply of elixirs and miraculous medicines. More and more brothers appeared, and every one of them was very good. Then, in the upper three heavens, there were 10 of us brothers. When Wu Jueqing said this, Dong Wushang and Rui Badong were both stunned. They looked at each other. At that time, the brothers thought, why don't we kill our way up to the upper three heavens? Make a name for ourselves? At that time, my big brother's position in the clan was stable. I was the only threat left. He sent countless experts to the upper three heavens to kill me. Because of me, the brothers got injured one day and another tomorrow. For several months, there was at least one person getting injured every day. Because of me. Wu Jueqing's eyes were filled with anger. Until my third brother threw himself on me and blocked a sword for me. That sword pierced through his chest, and his blood dripped onto my mouth, telling me to get up quickly. The next day, my sworn brother, in order to protect me, had his dantian pierced by someone. He was then hung up, burned with raging flames, and tortured in every possible way. I suddenly couldn't take it anymore, and I swore to tear my clan's sworn brother into 1,000,000 pieces. So, my brothers and I rushed to the upper three heavens together. After we wandered around, we made enemies everywhere. In the end, when everyone had reached the martial saint level, Big Brother said that he was actually the master of Tribulation's sword. It was his mission to unify the upper three heavens. So, we worked hard for this common goal. First, we quelled the opposing forces in my own clan. With my clan as the foundation, we conquered everywhere. When we all became supreme martial artists, when I was a 5th grade supreme martial artist, the upper three heavens was unified by us. A new great clan was also finally established. Our Wu clan naturally continued its glory for another 10,000 years. But at that time, Big Brother betrayed us and ruthlessly killed us. He used our souls to mend the heavens. Wu Jueqing laughed bitterly. At that time, I only felt that all my sincerity had been betrayed. All our past had been deceived. When we were together, we had sacrificed too much for each other. Every one of us was sincere. But my sworn big brother broke our hearts. Until our deaths, our brothers still couldn't believe it. I was lucky to escape. It took me a very long time to condense a physical body. I went to find Big Brother for revenge, but I couldn't find him. Then I asked around and found out that the previous tribulations had all been used to mend the heavens. Wu Jueqing said indifferently, so, from then on, I wanted to go against the master of Tribulation's sword. To avenge my brothers. I killed good people and bad people, just to see if that person helped the master of Tribulation's sword. For this, I didn't hesitate to kill good people. Actually, that's all. Wu Jueqing smiled. Yes, the master of Tribulation's sword and tribulations, don't have any magical imaginations. They're all ordinary people, that's all. Yu Lingxue pondered and said, that big brother of yours, could he have some difficulties? Wu Jueqing was startled. He said, he didn't say. If he did, and if he really had difficulties, why would he need to kill us personally? It's not impossible that he slit his own throat. Between us brothers, we've gone through countless hardships and deaths. Every one of us has risked our lives countless times for our brothers. If there really were difficulties, brothers, why would we cherish death? Feng Yuro and Yu Lingxue were silent. Chu Yang finally confirmed one thing. That was, every master of tribulation's sword, yes, maybe not all of them, but definitely most of them before unifying the upper three heavens, were loyal and righteous. But after unifying, they immediately became ruthless and merciless. Immediately became sinister and ruthless? Immediately slaughtered their brothers? Moreover, every master of tribulation's sword mysteriously disappeared after unifying the upper three heavens. On this point, the Dharma Supreme and Wu Jueqing didn't differ at all. But why exactly was this? No matter what, Chu Yang couldn't understand. Why would a loyal and righteous person change so quickly? For his brothers, he could block knives countless times, risk his life countless times, be tortured countless times. Those were definitely not family. But why would he betray them at the last moment, completely overturning his whole life in the blink of an eye? For a boat? If there wasn't a reason, Chu Yang wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. He asked the sword spirit in the tribulation space. The sword spirit thought for a long time before he said, I don't have any memories of that period of time. Chu Yang pondered and said, it's indeed an unsolvable mystery. He turned and asked, Wushang, Barong, if one day I have difficulties and need to sacrifice your lives to save me, will you save me? Dong Wushang smiled lightly and said, Big brother, will you save me then? There's no need to ask such questions between us brothers. Rui Barong laughed and said, Me too. Chu Yang frowned and said, It's indeed an unsolvable mystery. He said this sentence twice. Even Wu Jueqing could tell that something was wrong. He asked, Why is it an unsolvable mystery? Before Chu Yang could say anything, Yu Lingxue sneered and said, A loyal and righteous person who spent his whole life completely changed in the blink of an eye. How can there be such a thing in this world? If there is, there must be a reason. It's just that we don't know the reason. Yu Lingxue was also a straightforward man. He straightforwardly raised his suspicions towards this question that everyone else had turned a blind eye to. Yu Lingxue was confident that if it were him, he would never change. Wu Jueqing frowned and said gloomily, Are you saying that I'm lying? Yu Lingxue sneered. I didn't say that. But you have been angry about this matter for tens of thousands of years. Have you ever thought about another matter? Will you betray your brothers? Wu Jueqing was furious. What kind of nonsense is this? How can I, Wu Jueqing, betray my brothers? Yu Lingxue said, Then will the others who died with you betray their brothers? Wu Jueqing was even more furious. Bullshit. The friendship between us brothers is as clear as the sun and the moon. We went through fire and water together, through countless mountains of knives and seas of fire. They would never betray their brothers no matter what. If anyone would do so, I'd rather twist his head off and give it to you. Yu Lingxue sneered. Didn't your big brother go through fire and water together with you? Before your big brother betrayed you, did you dare to doubt him? Did you ever doubt him? Didn't you still trust him like you trust your other brothers? Before that, if someone told you that your big brother would kill you, would you believe it? Wu Jueqing was stunned. Chapter 1154. Chu Yang had always thought that he was righteous and upright at times. But he had to admit that he was probably the most shameless person in the world. But after hearing Lan Qingtian's words, Chu Yang was suddenly in awe of him. What was shamelessness? This was what it was. Damn it, when compared to Lan Qingtian, he was practically the humble, selfless, upright ruler. There was no way to compare at all. If my face is only the corner of a brick wall, then Lan Qingtian's face is the great wall of iron and steel. He first came to pay his respects and was very respectful. After confirming that the other party was injured, he immediately turned hostile. Moreover, he used his own granddaughter as an excuse to demand an explanation. Chu Yang recalled Wu Jueqing's reaction when he saw Chu Le. He couldn't help but hold his forehead and sigh. "Oh my God!" Yu Lingxue closed his eyes and asked, "Mei Xian is dead? How did she die?" Lan Qingtian flew into a rage. He said bitterly, "Elder Yu, you can't be as shameless as you, can you? You first beat her until she sustained internal injuries, then stabbed her from the front to the back with a sword. In the end, you even poisoned her for fear that she wouldn't die." Tears welled up in Lan Qingtian's eyes. "She's only a weak girl, and she was deeply in love with you. How can you be so heartless and not admit to it after doing such a vicious deed?" He roared furiously, "Today, even though I, Lan Qingtan, am far from being a match for the world-renowned Master Yu, I will still seek justice for my granddaughter. Heavens! Open your eyes and take a look. To think that there is such a shameless person in this world." Even with Feng Yuro and Yu Lingshue's cultivation and self-restraint, they were so infuriated that they started to tremble. This bastard's ability to distort the truth had already reached a certain level. Heavens! Open your eyes and take a look. To think that there is such a shameless person in this world. Suddenly, someone shouted into the sky in grief and indignation. His voice and tone were exactly the same as Lan Qingtian's. Even the voice was almost lifelike. Everyone was stunned. They turned to look, only to see Chu Yang thumping his chest and stamping his feet. He said in extreme grief and indignation, "Heavens, too shameless, simply too shameless." Lan Qingtian's expression darkened. "Chu Yang, what do you mean?" Chu Yang said with grief and indignation, "Oh heavens, Chuan, many years ago, my clan had used a beauty trap to befriend Venerable Yu, making him feel apologetic towards us and using us. But how can my clan be manipulated by others? What a joke. So what if he helped us? So what if he took care of us? Yes. So what if he tolerated us?" He shouted with all his might, "He's stronger than us. Helping us should be helped us. If he can't see through our intentions, then he's an idiot. If he can't, he is him. To what does that have to do with me? Now that he's injured, how can I not vent my anger on such a great opportunity? He helped us, but I was so angry. Who asked him to help us? He was simply meddling in other people's business. After I kill him today, I will announce to the world that he is no match for me and has been killed by me. Therefore, we are stronger than him. Therefore, the rise of our family is all due to our own strength. Long are you is if he's alive, I'll feel guilty. But if he's dead, I'll only feel happy. Our family is number one." Chu Yang said with tears and snot, "Do you know that our clan has been criticized by others all these years? Hasn't our clan been relying on Moon Breeze all along? Do you know how upset I feel? Although we are indeed relying on them, you can't say it out loud. We've been wronged. Too aggrieved. Too depressing. Now, this moment has finally arrived. Moon Breeze, pay the price." Chu Yang righteously shouted, "I want to seek justice for my granddaughter. Although she doesn't need it, this is my reason. With this reason, I'm upright and upright. I'm righteous. Although I'm a despicable and shameless jackal, I wear the face of a saint. Yu Lingxue, accept your fate." What? A burst of wild laughter. Everyone was dumbstruck. Lan Qingtian's lips twitched. He wasn't wrong at all. What Chu Yang said was exactly what he was thinking in his heart and couldn't say out loud. Now it was all exposed. And he was even imitating his own accent. It was so perfect. This feels great. This feels great. Dong Wushang and Rui Badong slapped their thighs and laughed. This was too satisfying. Boss performance just now was really satisfying. One had to admit that against someone like Lan Qingtian, killing him with a single punch was letting him off too easily. If he was so disgusting, couldn't others do the same to him? Moon Breeze's identity couldn't disgust him, but Chu Yang had no qualms about doing so. "I'll disgust you." So what? Even Wu Jueqing and Meng Charan laughed. Chu Yang's words exposed the mentality of a villain to the fullest. It was really satisfying. Moon Breeze was filled with anger and conflict at first, but when they heard this, they couldn't help but smile. In the distance, behind the crowd, some of the Zhuge clan members were smiling as well. They felt that these words really hit the nail on the head. One should use such disgusting methods to deal with disgusting people. You! Lan Qingtun finally came back to his senses and flew into a rage. What about me? I'm disgust you, can't you tell? The clan that I'm talking about is worse than a beast is your Lan clan. Can't you tell? How is it? Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Chu Yang explained kindly, afraid that the other party didn't understand. Lan Qingtian was furious. With a wave of his hand, he yelled, "Take this little one down. Don't take his life. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death. Little one, I'll let you miss out on one of the 3,718 extreme punishments in the world. You can consider me as your son." Chu Yang flew into a rage. Bullshit. What do you mean you're my son? How did I give birth to a bastard like you? If you were my son, I would have fucking thrown you into the latrine when you were still in liquid form. You're slandering me. You're spreading rumors. Chu Yang put on an aggrieved look as if he was about to vomit blood. Hurry up and go back and ask your mother. Ask her if I'm your father. What the fuck? I've really never seen anyone slandering someone like you. You're fucking one of a kind. Wah! Dong Wushang and Ribadong were practically sprawled on the ground, their bodies convulsing as they laughed. Ruibadong shouted, "Boss, he can't be a bastard child that you left behind many years ago, right?" Dong Wushang rebuked him furiously, "Shut up. Even if he is, we haven't done the blood test yet. It's irresponsible of you to say it now." Lan Qingtian started to tremble all over. His squarish face was pulled flat. Even his voice had changed. "Take him down. Take him down. Hurry up and take him down." Two green-robed men stepped forward with their swords drawn. Chu Yang said furiously, "You know that the Moon Breeze elders are injured and are here to take advantage of them, right?" The two of them didn't say a word as they charged forward. Chu Yang kept retreating. "I'm Lan Qingtian's father. How dare you kill me? How dare you kill me? You traitorous bastard. You really dare to fucking kill me?" The two men's swords connected to form a screen of light. Their faces were livid as they continued to attack as if they didn't hear a thing. Chu Yang drew his sword as he took a step back. "I'm fighting back, I'm really fighting back," the two of them sneered. Chu Yang's sword shook. Suddenly, with a swoosh, he shouted, "Dog drowning sword, first move, great water comes from the east." With a whoosh, it was as if huge waves had suddenly appeared in front of everyone. They surged toward them fiercely, the waves white and endless. The two of them didn't expect Chu Yang's swordsmanship to be so impressive. The two of them were 8th grade martial saints. Even when they joined forces against Chu Yang, they were actually suppressed by his sword. The two of them retreated. Chu Yang shouted, "Dog drowning sword, second move, dog drowning." With a shake of his sword, huge waves covered the masked men. "Dog drowning sword, third move, deep water piercing dog drowning. Dog drowning." The waves surged. Sword chi shot out one after another from the sword. The shoulders and thighs of the two men were cut at the same time. Blood spurted out from their throats. "Dog drowning sword, fourth move, frozen dog drowning." Chu Yang stabbed his sword. Suddenly, a cold wind blew and the surrounding temperature dropped by dozens of degrees. In the direction that Chu Yang's sword was pointing at, the two men had already been frozen into ice sculptures, frozen in a strange posture. Their necks were stretched out, their tongues were stuck out, their eyes were bulging, their bodies were turned sideways, and their feet were raised, just like a dog peeing. The most impressive thing was that a dog's tail made of snow had actually been frozen on their buttocks, and two long dog ears made of snow had also been added to their heads. They were actually frozen just like that. Dog drowning sword completed. Chu Yang sheathed his sword. "Everyone, please correct me." Lan Qingtian's expression was dark. "You're quite capable. However, no matter how capable you are, You won't be able to escape death today. At this point, the Zhuge clan members also surrounded them under the lead of an elderly man in sackcloth. Everyone, let's attack together and kill these people as soon as possible. Long delays may bring trouble. Lan Qingdan said fiercely, but leave this Chu Yang to me. I want him alive. 30 to 40 people shouted and flew over at the same time. Right at this moment, Yu Lingshue's suddenly rose into the air. With a flash in the air, dozens of Yu Lingshue's shadows appeared and went up to the 30 to 40 experts who rushed over. He reached out his hands and with a few cracking sounds, more than 30 people rolled back with their brains splattered everywhere. The ground was a mess of blood. Yu Lingshue's clothes were as white as snow. Floating in the air, he looked at Lan Qingdan impassively and said coldly, "There's really no need for the Lan clan to exist anymore." Huh! Lan Qingtian was astounded as he stumbled back a couple of steps. Why were you? Aren't you severely injured? Yu Lingxue floated in the air and smashed an expert who was about to escape into pieces with a palm strike. He shouted, "Who dares to leave?" Then, he said dispassionately, "This is a trap." Lan Qingtian felt cold all over. Chapter 1155. Yu Lingxue heaved a heavy sigh and said, "Lan clan, I'm really heartbroken." Lan Qingtian stood there dumbfounded. Suddenly he shuddered all over and laughed. "You Zhuge clan scum, how is it? You've lost, right? Ha! I've already said that Elder Yu won't get hurt. How is it? Are you all dumbfounded?" After laughing heartily, he turned to Yu Lingxue and said, Elder Yu is indeed safe and sound. I'm really relieved. This time, the Zhuge clan wanted to ambush you. I was afraid that something would happen to you, so I rushed over with all my might and pretended to be polite. Now I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. I should have thought of it long ago. Elder is mighty, how can he be ambushed? They're really unworthy. The Zhuge clan people were also stunned at the sight. Upon hearing that, they couldn't help but curse. Lan Qingtian, are you still a human being? How can you be so shameless? Weren't you the one who initiated the pursuit this time? Don't you have any sense of shame for slandering us like this? Lan Qingtian sneered. Your Zhuge clan's conspiracy is destroying our relationship. What else do you have to say now? If I, Lan Qingnan, hadn't seen through your conspiracy, wouldn't I have been tricked to death by you this time? The Zhuge clan is indeed a clan of wisdom. I'm impressed. Everyone was dumbfounded. This Lan Qingtian was really shameless to a certain extent. He could actually still say such things even at this stage. He was still cursing just now, but the moment he saw that Yu Lingshue's injuries weren't as serious as he had imagined, he actually changed his mind immediately. Chu Yang was even more impressed. He fully understood the saying, "Mouths are two pieces of skin. Whatever you say, it makes sense. The upper lip is heaven, the lower lip is earth." Yu Lingxue said dispassionately, "I see. Qingtian, thank you for your kind intentions. Now, do something for me." Lan Qingdan said, "Please instruct me, Elder Yu. I'll do as you say." Yu Lingxue said dispassionately, "Go. Kill everyone from the Zhuge clan. I'll speak to you again after you've killed them all." Lan Qingtian was dumbfounded and had no choice but to agree. Chu Yang almost laughed out loud. Yu Lingxue was really vicious. Such a strategy of driving the tiger to devour the wolf. She really didn't know how Yu Lingshue's straightforward brain came up with this. As long as the two clans fought, both sides would definitely suffer. At that time, he would think of how to take advantage of the situation. How could he take advantage of her? Lan Qingtian's eyes darted around before he said, "Senior Yu, this, what?" Feng Yuro floated over from behind. She was 30 feet high in the air, but her speed was extremely slow. Everyone knew that for the same distance, you could either jump over or float over slowly. The difficulty of this was undoubtedly a world of difference. Lan Qingtian's eyes narrowed. He was finally certain Moon Breeze wasn't injured at all. With a loud roar he shouted, "Boys, let's kill these bastards from the Zhuge clan who are trying to sow discord." With a shout, everyone from the Lan family fought bravely to be the first. He pounced over like a wolf or a tiger. The Zhuge family's people were so angry that they were trembling all over. His mouth was crooked and his eyes were slanted. Go! Let's kill these despicable and shameless people from the Lan family first. The two sides were like two torrents facing each other, moving at the same time. Shouts rang out, swords and sabers flashed, blood and flesh flew everywhere. In an instant, the fight was extremely intense. Lan Qingtian was also helpless. He had already offended Yu Lingxue by saying so much earlier. He also knew that this was Yu Lingxue urging the tiger to devour the wolf. But he still had to attack. Because Yu Lingxue's killing intent had already been triggered. Even if the two clans didn't attack, Yu Lingxue would still kill. Only by listening to him and killing the Zhuge clan before begging Yu Lingxue for mercy would he have a chance of survival. And it was still very slim. But no matter what, this was his only chance. The fight between the two clans was extremely intense. Chu Yang and the others stood aside and watched, pointing and commenting. In the time it took for half an incense to burn, many people from each side had already died. Wu Jueqing said impatiently, "Since your injuries have recovered, hurry up and kill everyone. What's there to see with this bunch of bastards fighting?" Yu Lingxue smiled and said, "I'm just venting my anger. Now that they're almost done fighting, it's time for us to make our move." The husband and wife let out a long laugh. Two long swords were unsheathed at the same time, and without warning, they launched a devastating attack on the fighting crowd. Chu Yang gave the order without the slightest bit of interest. The snow sleigh continued along the main road. Moon Breeze's injuries had already mostly recovered. There was no suspense at all in dealing with these people. The result would be the same whether he watched or not. It was just that in Chu Yang's heart, there was an additional killing intent toward the big clans. Lan Qingtian's screams came from behind. "Elder Yu, why are you?" The screams stopped abruptly. Chu Yang and the others had already gone a few miles before Moon Breeze finally caught up. His white robes were spotless. Chu Yang smiled. "Done? Do you feel very carefree?" Yu Lingxue laughed. "Yes, I do feel rather carefree." Chu Yang smiled and said, "You're going to be a Dharma Supreme in the future. It's fine to be honest and upright, but you have to be more careful in everything you do. Just like an imperial court, there are many loyal officials and good generals, but there are also many treacherous and despicable people. Knowing the means of the treacherous and despicable people doesn't necessarily make you a despicable person. After all, one must always be wary of others." Yu Lingxue nodded. "I will remember what you said." Feng Yuro smiled sweetly. If Chu Yang had said this in the past, perhaps no one would have believed him or even scoffed at him. But when he said this now, the weight was different. Because he was the Tribulation Sword Master. Now that the Dharma Supreme had made it clear that he was an enemy, it would be strange if Chu Yang allowed him to continue living. Along the way, it was very peaceful. Moon Breeze didn't mention anything about Lan Meixian, and Chu Yang didn't want to ask too much about it. 3 days later, Feng Yuro finally said something, intentionally or otherwise. "Chu Yang, Meixian, is your mother's teacher?" This sentence made Chu Yang's heart tremble. "Then is she dead or alive?" asked Chu Yang. "She shouldn't be dead. I heard that Lan Qingtian saved her and got someone to escort her home. However, she suffered extremely serious injuries and was poisoned. I'm afraid she won't be able to live for long." Feng Yuro sighed. "She used to be a very innocent and very cute girl." Chu Yang remained silent. Then he said, "Everyone will change." Yu Lingxue kept listening at the side. At this moment, he heaved a long sigh. He didn't know why he was sighing either. "Where are we going?" Feng Yuro changed the topic. "Back to the southeast first, to my home," said Chu Yang. "Although the two of you have recovered more than half of your cultivation, your life source still hasn't recovered." However, his life force had not recovered, and Senior Wu Jueqing's injuries were also very serious. There must be a place to recuperate. My teacher's wife also needs a place to settle down. I'll only be at ease when the two of you have settled down there. Besides, with the two of you around and taking care of each other, nothing will go wrong. I won't have to worry about it. He smiled. I'll set off again from there to continue my path, to search for the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword. Yu Lingxue said, actually, you can leave now to search for the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword. With the two of us escorting you, are you still worried? Chu Yang smiled warmly. I'm not worried. I miss my mother. Chu Yang's voice was very calm, but Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro's hearts trembled for some reason. From this sentence, they could hear Chu Yang's affection for his family. I miss my mother, just because of such a reason. As the master of the Tribulation Sword, Chu Yang didn't even hesitate to postpone his search for the Tribulation Sword just to go home and take a look. Who could understand Yu's heart? Feng Yuro suddenly felt very envious of Chu Yang's mother, because she had such a son who was so concerned about her. Chu Yang silently took out a bottle of spiritual spring water and handed it to the two of them. This is spiritual spring water. It can stimulate the vitality of the human body. I don't know if it'll be useful for the two of you. At present, my spiritual spring water has already started to transform into the spring of life. When it reaches the level of the spring of life, it can solve the problem of your children. Feng Yuro's face flushed red, but she received it happily. Thank you, Chu Yang. Chu Yang said deeply, my mother gave me all her effort and was unhappy for decades. It's not easy to be a parent, but it's also a blessing. I understand your pain very well. I also hope that I can help you fulfill your wish sooner. Yu Lingxue and Feng Yuro nodded with serious expressions. After exiting the south and heading east, they received news that the entire Medicine Valley had been annihilated by an unknown force. The entire Medicine Valley was reduced to ashes. From then on, it completely disappeared from the Heaven-tier continent. This news made everyone's hearts heavy. When they were about to reach the Black Blood Forest, Chu Yang took out a jade token left behind by Zi Sheqing and activated it. Instantly, a majestic aura was emitted from it. It was Zi Sheqing's aura. It was as if that figure in white was still following him, smiling sweetly, happy and angry at the same time. Chu Yang's heart felt a little sour. He wore the jade token on himself and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Every time this happened, Jianghu would be very quiet. She would just accompany him quietly without saying a word. That pair of big eyes that seemed to be able to speak looked at Chu Yang with unusual concern. They finally reached the Black Blood Forest. Once they entered, everyone was shocked. Countless spirit beasts, including birds, lined up neatly on both sides of the road. From big to small, they were meticulously organized, without a single strand out of place. Cats and mice stood side by side, wolves and rabbits stood side by side, not attacking each other. They were as respectful as guards of honor, leaving a wide path for everyone to walk on. Every spirit beast's eyes were filled with reverence. Oh my God, so cute! Seeing this situation, Jianghu and Chu Lu almost fainted from excitement. Both girls liked obedient little animals. Now that they saw such a magnificent scene, they were simply overjoyed. They ran to the side of the road and touched this and that, their faces full of bliss and love. All the spirit beasts were very dissatisfied with such caresses. Damn, are you treating us as your pets? Writing about Lan Qingtian made me feel disgusted, so I'll just skip over it briefly. Today, I went to the hospital often because of my waist problem, so I'm familiar with the nurses. Every time I went, they waved and said, I'm here. Today, my wife accompanied me. After I arrived, before I could say anything, 3 or 4 nurses waved at me at the same time and said, you're here? My wife was very angry about this. She said that she would transfer me from the city hospital to the hospital tomorrow. Today, I made a call to ask about it and suddenly felt very sad. There didn't seem to be any young nurses in the hospital. I went to write my story with tears streaming down my face. Chapter 1156. Although the spirit beasts were unhappy, Zi Sheqing's coercion was still present, and none of them dared to resist. Chu Lue and Imo Qingwu even forcefully pulled out a majestic black blood mystic tiger each and rode on it. The two tall and big black blood tigers each weighed at least 250 kilograms. They were extremely burly. The two little girls rode on them and swaggered through the city. No, they swaggered through the black blood forest. This journey was actually earth-shattering. All the roads in front of them were leveled. In the black blood forest, all the people and spirit beasts stood respectfully on both sides. In front of them, there were still people clearing the way for them. It was only now that Chu Yang knew that the token that Zi Sheqing had given him was probably very extraordinary. He caught a man in black who lived in the black blood forest all year round and smelled it. Only then did he know that this was the king's token of the black blood forest. With this token, one could command the entire black blood forest. Chu Yang's heart trembled. Zi Sheqing was still worried about him. She didn't say anything but still left such a powerful force for him. From the conversation, he found out that the people in the black blood forest were already used to such a life because they lived in darkness all year round. If they went out rashly, their eyes might not be able to take it. Therefore, even if they had to go out to do something, they had to wear a blindfold. Moreover, they couldn't stay outside for more than 2 months each time. Otherwise, their eyes would be destroyed. Chu Yang knew what to do. He bid farewell to the people who came up to greet him and went all the way to the center of the black blood forest. All the region masters were waiting here. Seeing that it was Chu Yang and not Zi Sheqing who came, although everyone was a little suspicious, Zi Sheqing's divine sense was not to be doubted. Chu Yang explained, Zi Sheqing went to the heavens beyond to do something and will be back soon. All the region masters agreed. With Zi Sheqing's ability, it was very possible for her to go to the heavens beyond to do something. She would definitely succeed. Finally, they walked out of the black blood forest. Everyone rushed for a while. Then they started to ride on the snow sleigh. In this way, they continued their journey. With the help of the wind fox, spirit beasts pulled the sleigh. They traveled more than 2,000 miles a day, but from the Zhuge clan to the flat mountain ridge, they actually took almost 2 months. The weather here, compared to the south, it was a little colder. The accumulated snow had not melted yet. The group sat on the snow sleigh and arrived at the flat mountain ridge in no time. Chu Yang had just entered the flat mountain ridge when someone rushed back to report the news. Eldest young master is back. The Chu clan, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly burst into jubilation. Yang Ruolin quickly ran out. Chu Failing even tried to persuade her, as a mother, you should stay in your room and wait for your son to come and greet you. Why are you in such a hurry? Yang Ruolin retorted, if you're not in a hurry, why did you run out here? Chu Failing said, as a father, I don't need to be so particular. Yang Ruolin laughed coldly, I forgot. That's your sworn brother. Chu Failing immediately blushed. He was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to say. The two of them raised their heads and looked at each other, only to see a row of sleighs rolling in from the distance, extremely fast. It was Chu Yang, who she had been thinking about day and night. Yang Ruolin was instantly filled with joy, but her eyes were filled with tears. Even her palms were trembling. Chu Failing wanted to say something to ease his wife's mood, but he realized that his voice was trembling. When they finally arrived, Chu Yang had already flown over. He hugged his mother. Mother! Yang Ruolin hugged her son back. Her tears flowed like a spring. She said in a trembling voice, Yang, my good son. I missed you so much. Chu Failing came up with red eyes. He pretended to scold them. Look at you two, what's wrong with you? There are guests here, it's simply inappropriate. Don't cry, don't cry. You can't tie your son to your side when he's grown up, right? Yang Ruolin snorted and let go of her son. She looked at him carefully. You've become darker and thinner, Chu Yang smiled bitterly. Actually, he had definitely gained weight during this period of time. But in his mother's heart, her son must have suffered as long as he went out. Who are your other friends? Chu Failing asked Chu Yang. Chu Yang gave him a look and said, let's go in and talk. Chu Failing immediately knew that there were important people here. He said solemnly, okay. At this moment, Chu Lu had already flown over like a swallow. She hugged Yang Ruolin and said, "Aunt, I've recovered." Yang Ruolin was pleasantly surprised. "You've recovered?" Chu nodded vigorously. "I've really recovered. And I've also found my father this time. He came back with us." At this moment, Chu Feiyan walked down from the snow sleigh and called, "Big brother, sister-in-law." Chu Feiling and Yang Ruolin were pleasantly surprised. Chu Feiling went forward and grabbed his third brother's arm. He was so excited that he couldn't speak. Everyone then walked into the Chu clan's courtyard. Emo Qingwu walked at the back. Her head was lowered and her little face was almost stuffed into her chest. She was very shy. "Oh my, I'm at elder brother Chu Yang's house. I'm going to see elder brother Chu Yang's parents soon. This ugly daughter-in-law, am finally going to see her in-laws. This is so embarrassing. What should I say? What should I say to make them like me? I'm so nervous." Chu Xiongqing and the others were already waiting in the hall. Chu Feiyan wasn't here. He was outside with the goods and hadn't returned yet. After dismissing the servants, Chu Yang started to introduce them. The first to be introduced was, of course, Wu Jueqing. "This elder is Lu's new teacher." Old Master Chu stroked his beard and smiled. He said, "Brother, you've worked hard. Is still young. I'll have to trouble you to teach her well." Chu Xiongqing was Chu Lu's grandfather. To him, calling Chu Lu's teacher in this way was already very polite. Wu Jueqing said lightly, "It's my business to take in disciples. It has nothing to do with you. Also, don't call me brother, this form of address. It'll make me feel very weird." Chu Yang held back his laughter and said, "Grandpa, this elder is one of the tribulations from 40,000 years ago. He's the successor of martial artist Qin Feng, the poison doctor Wu Jueqing." With a thud, old Master Chu Xiongqing fell from the armchair. He was dumbfounded. "What did you say?" "I'm telling the truth." Chu Yang nodded affirmatively. Old Master Chu Xiongqing raised his head and looked at Wu Jueqing. In that instant, he suddenly felt like he was looking up at a tall mountain. He said with a trembling voice, "Elder?" "Sin." Wu Jueqing shook his head. "You'd better call me brother. It's even more awkward." Old Master Chu made a couple of sounds and wiped the sweat off his face. "My God, what has this grandson of mine been doing out there? He even managed to invite such a big shot whose name directly shook the world to the Chu clan. This is really too shocking for me. Luckily, I'm not injured or sick. If I had a heart attack or something, I'd have passed by today. Grandpa, from today onwards, Elder Wu will be staying in the Chu clan permanently." Chu Yang threw out an important sentence. Old Master Chu's hands and feet immediately trembled. "Welcome, welcome, a warm welcome." Chu Yang almost laughed out loud. "Introduce these two elders to Grandpa." Chu Yang came in front of the Moon Breeze couple. Chu Xiongqing wiped his sweat and walked over with a smile. He thought to himself, Wu Jueqing should be a heavyweight. These two shouldn't be so scary anymore. Yu Lingxue was extremely polite. He smiled and bowed. "I'm Yu Lingxue. This is my wife, Feng Yuro." Feng Yuro smiled and nodded. Old Master Chu hurriedly returned the greeting. "Brother Yu." Before he finished, he suddenly sat on the ground and his image was instantly destroyed. To Chu Xiongqing and most people in this continent, the Moon Breeze couple was much more famous than Wu Jueqing. After all, Wu Jueqing was from a long time ago and only existed in legends. There weren't many people who knew about Wu Jueqing now. But the Moon Breeze couple lived up to their name and shook the world. The legend of the Moon Breeze couple was legendary. In the heaven-level continent, they were very well known. Now, these two people were standing in front of him. How could Chu Xiongqing still maintain his composure? He panted heavily. "Are you the Moon Breeze Supremacy?" "I'm sorry," Yu Lingxue said warmly. Old Master Chu swallowed his saliva with difficulty. "Grandfather, the Moon Breeze couple will also be staying in our house," Chu Yang said in a timely manner. "Welcome, welcome, a warm welcome." Old Master Chu's head was already in a knot and he almost couldn't think. He said almost mechanically. The successive shocks made Old Master Chu unable to react. "Then, Chu Yang was about to continue the introduction. Hello, grandfather. Mo Qingwu came out with a red face and bowed obediently. Her voice was a little trembling and she only felt her whole body heating up. She didn't know what to say and felt a little dizzy. So, Old Master Chu Xiongqing smiled and looked at Mo Qingwu very lovingly. At the same time, he quickly calmed down his agitated mood. He thought to himself, this little girl called me grandfather the moment she came up. She shouldn't be a big shot, right? This is Mo Qingwu. Grandfather, you can call her Xiaowu, Chu Yang smiled. Yes, Xiaowu. What a cute name, Old Master Chu smiled. Xiaowu is the direct disciple of the two supreme martial artists, Bu Luqing and Ning Tianya, Chu Yang added a little mischievously. Hiss, Old Master Chu gasped and staggered. His mouth and eyes were crooked. Oh my God, I am dreaming. After shaking his head and confirming that he wasn't dreaming, he hurriedly said, Aya, you are the younger brother of the two supreme martial artists, how can you call me grandfather? Old Master Chu was extremely terrified. Then, wouldn't that mean that he was a generation older than Bu Luqing and Ning Tianya? Damn, if this spread out, people would die, Old Master Chu said without thinking. I should call you. Granted. What? Mo Qingwu smiled with a red face. It's only right that I call you grandfather. Chu Le pursed her lips and said, Grandfather, just bear with it. This little girl is very ambitious. She wants to marry my big brother so much that she's crazy. I just received a piece of news. At the end of last month, on the 23rd or 24th, a brother left us forever. His name is the sadness of parting. Usually, we call him Little Wound. At the beginning of last month, we saw him cheering for the proud world and encouraging us. The monthly votes he gave us are still in the proud world's monthly votes record. But he has already left. My heart hurts. My brother is only 17 years old. He accidentally fell down from upstairs. When I received this news, I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. Human life is so fragile. I hope that the living will cherish it and the dead can rest in peace. I just want to say, brother, rest in peace. I typed a lot of words, but I still deleted them. I just want to say goodbye to my brother here. Let's not talk about anything else. I only wish my brother, bon voyage. Rest in peace. Chapter 1157. When Chu Luther said this, everyone was shocked. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on this little girl in red who was as beautiful as a pearl. Well, actually, she couldn't be considered a little girl anymore. The current Mo Qingwu was a head taller than Chu Lu. She was slim and graceful and was already in the embryonic stage of a peerless beauty. The so-called half-form, well, meant that she had already grown up. It was just that she was still lacking some maturity. Yang Ruolin looked at Mo Qingwu and slowly opened her mouth wide. Then, she slowly turned her head and looked at her son. Her gaze froze. She remembered what her son said when the two clans wanted to arrange a marriage for him. I have a lover. She is Ning Tianya and Bu Liuqing's brother. Yang Ruolin was on the verge of collapse. She thought how old Supremacy Ning's brother was. In Yang Ruolin's imagination, she was at least 18 years old or 20 years old. I didn't expect her to be such a little girl. This made Yang Ruolin's heart drop too big. Oh, Mother Chu. Mo Qingwu came over obediently and bowed. She tried her best to put on a calm and dignified demeanor to win the favor of her future mother-in-law. Ah, good. Yang Ruolin nodded stiffly with her mouth agape. Hello, Father Chu. Mo Qingwu looked at Chu Feilong. Chu Feilong's face was also contorted. Good. After Chu Yang's introduction, everyone drank tea and chatted in the hall. Come out with me for a while. Yang Ruolin glared at him. Chu Yang rubbed his nose and followed her out. What's going on? When they came to a secluded place, Yang Ruolin's face turned cold and she asked, What's going on? Chu Yang was shocked. Xiaowu. Yang Ruolin said angrily. Nothing. Chu Yang said in shock. Mother, don't you think she's pretty? Not cute? Not pretty? Or, is there something you're not satisfied with? She's pretty. She's even cuter and prettier. I'm satisfied with everything. Yang Ruolan said angrily, but isn't she a little too young? What's wrong with that? Chu Yang didn't think much of it. Isn't it normal to have a few years difference? Martial artists have long lifespans nowadays. Even couples with a few hundred years difference in age isn't rare in this world. What's wrong with that? He thought to himself, you can't stand this? After some time, I will find you a daughter-in-law who is a few thousand years older than me. Yang Ruolan was speechless for a while. Then, the girl you said in the past, that you fell in love with, her? Chu Yang was very proud. Yang Ruolan looked at her strangely. How old is she? Chu Yang suddenly felt a little guilty. Cough, cough. I think I'm 13 years old. He thought to himself, I'll be 13 in half a year. In other words, when you fell in love with her, she was only 10 years old? Yang Ruolan's eyes shone brightly. Cough. Chu Yang touched his nose. It should be, right? And then you decided to live and die together? A vow of eternal love? Yang Ruolan looked at him. A few black lines gathered between her eyebrows. Chu Yang was extremely embarrassed. That, oh my, isn't this very normal? Very normal? Yang Ruolan was speechless. No wonder her son was unwilling even when so many beauties were chasing after him. It turned out that this was the reason. Towards young girls, there was a kind of cough, 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 cough. Yang Ruolan suddenly felt a heavy responsibility. Her son looked bright and handsome. How could he have such a despicable, what? He wasn't by his parents' side when he was young, which led to sigh. Yang Ruolan sighed deeply in her heart. She pulled her son to sit down and began to teach him earnestly. Yang, by right, your father should be the one to tell you this. However, your father is clumsy with words. Then, look at young girls. She said a lot of things at length. Chu Yang was puzzled at first. He couldn't make head or tail of it. Then he panicked. Then he became enlightened. Then he became dazed like a duck that was struck by lightning. Minister Chu cried but no tears came out. When did I have such symptoms? Young girls? Mentally unstable? Somewhat twisted? Perverted hobbies? Chu Yang looked at his mother who was endlessly scolding him. His eyes were dull. Since Yang Ruolan had already started, there was nothing to be embarrassed about. She continued to talk about the harm and reputation. The consequence? Chu Yang's eyes were dull. His head fell freely on the stone table in front of him. With a thud, a hole was smashed in the hard stone table. Yang Ruolan was shocked. She hurriedly helped him up and comforted him. Actually, it's nothing. Don't be so depressed. Boo-hoo. Minister Chu was really crying. Yang Ruolan was flustered at once. I quite like this little girl. As long as she grows up. Yes, then we will keep it a secret. We will only know each other after we grow up. Who would dare to say otherwise? Chu Yang said with tears in his eyes, Mother, you are so wise. Yang Ruolan clapped her hands and said, That's good. Let's do that. Suddenly, she remembered something. She was stunned and said, Terrible. I forgot to tell you something important. Chu Yang said listlessly, What is it? Yang Ruolan looked around and lowered her voice. She leaned close to his ear and said mysteriously, You have to promise me that you won't say that I told you this. Otherwise, the consequences will be very bad. His mother said seriously. Chu Yang immediately became serious. He said seriously, What is it? Yang Ruolan lowered her voice even more. When your father and I went to the lower three heavens to look for you, we met my junior sister. Do you know? My junior sister is the current emperor of the Iron Cloud Empire. I heard that you always thought that she was a man? So, let me tell you. After that, my junior sister got pregnant. Little brat. I have a grandson. Do you understand? Chu Yang looked at Yang Ruolan with dull eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? Yang Ruolan said angrily, She is such a good girl. For you, she is willing to show her innocence. For you, she is willing to give birth to a child before marriage. For you, she is willing to... Chu Yang used his fingers to rub his temples. What a... Yang Ruolan said angrily, you should bring them up as soon as possible. My grandson is wandering outside. What is going on? Do you have any sense of responsibility as a man? Chu Yang agreed helplessly, but the heavens are sealed now. You should bring them up as soon as you can. My poor daughter-in-law and grandson. Yang Ruolan was in a daze for a while. She warned, don't tell anyone that I said that. Understood. Well, mother, if she comes, should she call you senior sister or Ming? Get lost. Bang. That night, the Chu clan held a big banquet. It was announced that the eldest grandson had returned. But the real reason was only known to the higher-ups of the Chu clan. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, everyone started to disperse. They stayed in a big courtyard specially arranged by the Chu clan. Chu Yang had not been home for a long time. Naturally, he wanted to have a good chat with his parents. After taking 2 steps, Mo Qingwu caught up with him softly. Wait. What's wrong? Chu Yang turned back. The little girl was unusually quiet today. Every word she said was graceful and elegant. She did not show her teeth when she smiled. She was very ladylike. But now, she was holding the corners of her skirt with both hands and running all the way. The Mother Chu still likes me, right? Mo Qingwu looked up. She was very nervous and expectant. I like you very much. Chu Yang nodded affirmatively. Of course, if little Wu returns to her original lively and cute self, I will like you even more. Really? Mo Qingwu was in high spirits. She twisted her small waist and pouted coquettishly. Then she hummed a little tune and left. Chu Yang rubbed his nose and smiled bitterly. Just as he was about to turn around, a hand reached out and pulled him to a secluded place in the shadows. Chu Yang turned back. Yes, it was his father, Chu Feiling. I have something important to tell you. Chu Feiling's face was serious. What is it? Chu Yang was stunned. Don't tell anyone that I told you. Chu Feiling said seriously, remember. Chu Yang blinked. Well, you have a girl you like now and brought her back. Your mother and I are very pleased. Chu Feiling's face was serious. He seemed to have some misgivings. He said hesitantly, but there is something that I have been thinking about for a long time. You must know. What is it? Chu Yang blinked. Don't tell anyone that I told you. It's like this. That year, your mother and I went to the lower 3 heavens to look for you. We met your mother's junior sister, little Tian. Well, it turns out that she is. Chu Feiling lowered his voice and said mysteriously. Chu Yang's eyes widened. That's what happened. After Chu Feiling finished, he stroked his beard and smiled. Do you understand? I understand. Chu Yang nodded vigorously like a chicken pecking rice. Chu Feiling was finally relieved. He turned around and was about to leave. He turned back and reminded Chu Yang, don't tell anyone that I told you. Seeing his father's figure disappear into the shadows, Chu Yang held his head with both hands and squatted on the ground. He said to himself as if he had a toothache, oh my mother, oh my father. He really didn't expect that his parents would know about it. Moreover, each of them came to bombard him so mysteriously. Chu Yang felt that he was about to collapse. When he returned to the small courtyard, Yang Ruolin and Chu Feiling were already waiting there. Seeing him come in, both of them were very serious and very kind. You're back? Well, tell me about it. The 2 of them were sanctimonious, but both of them looked as if they had done something wrong. This made Chu Yang secretly laugh in his heart. In the next few days, Chu Yang went to visit Sha Xinliang, Qin Baoshan and the others respectively. Everyone had a joyous gathering, but both Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan secretly warned Chu Yang, don't trust the law enforcement officers. Now, among the law enforcement officers, there was a faint voice, get rid of Chu Yang. Both Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan were extremely worried about this. Chapter 1158. Moreover, from Qin Baoshan and Sha Xinliang's words, the law enforcement headquarters were extremely dissatisfied with the Southeast law enforcement officers. The southeast law enforcement officers were especially dissatisfied with the flat mountain ridge branch. The two of them were very likely to be transferred back, and they already had the intention to do so. Moreover, the law enforcement master of the southeast region, Han Xiaoran, would also be transferred back within a short period of time. Later, Xia Xinliang said to Chu Yang with a heavy heart, "Little brother, the Chu clan is still fine with the two of us here. Some time ago, the Xiao clan came to find trouble with the Chu clan, but we sent them back in the name of law enforcement officers. But if we leave, Sai, please tell old Master Chu that the Chu clan needs to be cautious in the future." After a meal, Qin Baoshan and Xia Xinliang both drank till they were dead drunk and passed out. Chu Yang sent the two of them back and sat in the law enforcement branch for a long time before returning to the Chu clan. Xia Xinliang and Qin Baoshan weren't good people, but the words they said today and the sincerity they showed really warmed Chu Yang's heart and made him feel touched. As for the law enforcement officers changing people to deal with the Chu clan, or the Xiao clan coming to find trouble with them, Chu Yang wasn't worried at all. With Wu Jueqing and Moon Breeze here, this place was already the world's biggest trap. Even if the Heavenly Master came personally, this place would also be impregnable. After returning home, Chu Yang lived peacefully for 1.5 months. The only strange thing was that the elder master of the Chu clan, Chu Xiaoxin, actually only came to say hello to the arrival of so many strong people and then went back to his own courtyard to live in seclusion. This indifference made Chu Yang admire him endlessly. What was even more unexpected was that Wu Jueqing and Moon Breeze actually admired Chu Xiaoxin's indifference. Moreover, the three of them actually started to chat and walk around with Chu Xiaoxin frequently. Of course, what was even more unexpected to Chu Yang was that, as the three of them went over frequently, Chu Xiaoxin became annoyed. The three of them went over to drink Chu Xiaoxin's treasured tea. Finally, one day, Elder Master Chu fiercely drove Wu Jueqing out alive. Wu Jueqing was driven out, but not only did he not feel offended, he even laughed loudly and went over more frequently from then on. Chu Yang was confused about the interactions between these old fellows. Who would dare to drive Wu Jueqing out? In this world, even the big clans wouldn't dare to do so? Drive Wu Jueqing away? If he was unhappy, he could raise his hand and turn everything within a radius of several hundred miles into a land of death. Who could bear such a consequence? But Chu Xiaoxin dared to. Not only did he dare, but he also chased him out while cursing and scolding. Furthermore, being chased away like this made Wu Jueqing even happier. He ran there 3 times a day even more diligently. Apart from teaching disciples, he stayed at Chu Xiaoxin's place and refused to leave. Regarding this, Chu Yang was puzzled. In the end, Chu Xiaoxin had no choice but to acquiesce. Sometimes, the two of them would sit opposite each other and drink tea. When Wu Jueqing went over, he didn't say a word. After drinking tea for half a day, he stood up and left. Chu Xiaoxin didn't send him off either. From the beginning to the end, the two of them did not speak. Sometimes, when the Moon Breeze couple went, it was the same. Without saying a word, he drank his tea in silence. Chu Yang had a vague understanding of this situation, but he couldn't understand it. This is a kind of desolation. This place is truly outside the world. Wu Jueqing once said to the equally curious Chu Lu, "I didn't expect Chu Xiaoxin to be a true outsider in the real boundless secular world. Sai, all of you are still young and don't understand. You don't have to understand either." Chu related to Chu Yang, half understanding. Chu Yang stood there for a long time and didn't speak. Desolation was also a kind of concept. Especially after experiencing the vicissitudes of life, the kind of desolation that survivors felt when facing each other. They didn't know whether they were reminiscing or lamenting about it, right? 1.5 months later, Chu Yang finally decided to set off. This time, Chu Luer and Mo Qingwu both stayed at the Chu clan. Only Chu Yang, Dong Wushang and Rui Badong went out. Even Mo Lei stayed. Everyone was a little reluctant to leave, but the Moon Breeze couple and Wu Jueqing's words made the final decision. If you don't go out and make a name for yourself when you are young, when will you? What can you achieve by indulging in love? If you stay in the flat mountain ridge like this for the rest of your life, sooner or later, Your clan will be exterminated. Before leaving, the Moon Breeze couple brought Chu Yang to one side and specially instructed him. You really don't intend to have one of us accompany you? Feng Yuro looked at Chu Yang worriedly. You can be said to be irreconcilable with the big clans now. If they want to kill you, even if the big clans lose 400 to 500 supreme martial artists in one go, each clan will only have 50 supreme martial artists. Moreover, since they can send out so many supreme martial artists, there will definitely be a lot of people watching over the clan. After all, the foundation is always the most important. With your current cultivation, it's really not enough. But if we follow you, I'm afraid we really won't be able to grow. Chu Yang said seriously, if men don't sharpen themselves between life and death, they won't be able to achieve great things. Yu Lingxue was silent. If you really want to go out, then you must be prepared to escape at any time. And you must be very careful of a few people. Yu Lingxue was silent for a long time before he said this. What few people? Asked Chu Yang. The morning rain and evening sun do not regret the sword, autumn and spring waves meet the wind, the heavens roar, looking back, it's already late at night. Yu Lingxue recited a poem word by word. Chu Yang was surprised. Huh. There's a person's name here. This person is the son of tribulation back then. The person who single-handedly founded the big clans. Yu Lingxue said indifferently, although they haven't appeared in the world for 10,000 years, once they appear. You've also had a taste of Zhuge Zhangqiong's prowess, and Zhuge Zhangqiong is the firmament of this clan. May I know who the other few people are? Asked Chu Yang. Xiao Chenyu of the Xiao clan, Ling Muyang of the Ling clan, Lan Buhui of the Lan clan, Qiu of the Jia clan, Li Chunhua of the Li clan, Chen Yingfeng of the Chen clan, Zhuge Zhangqiong of the Zhuge clan, Shi Paoxiao of the Shi clan, and of course, the number one expert of this clan is Yi Qinshan of the Yi clan. Yu Lingxue said, Come, I'll tell you about these people's habits, looks, habits, voices, and so on. Once you meet them, don't expose your identity. Run as far as you can immediately. Chu Yang, Dong Wushang and Rui Badong followed Yu Lingxue in. They listened attentively, remembering every word that Yu Lingxue said deeply in their minds. The first-generation ancestors of the big clans, the founders of the big clans. A few of them were people that even Yu Lingxue had to carefully introduce. After listening to the introduction, Chu Yang finally had some impression of them. He couldn't help but say rather gloomily, the second grandmasters are all dead, and the first grandmasters have appeared. After killing all of them, there won't be any more special grandmasters, right? Then there definitely won't be any special grandmasters coming out. Yu Lingxue's smile was very meaningful. However, it won't be easy for you to kill these people. It won't be easy at all. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Chu Yang with a smile. At least, before you're cut into 7 or 8 pieces, it will be very difficult. Chu Yang's face was full of black lines. He deeply felt that these days, whenever he chatted with Moon Breeze, he would start talking about schemes and whatnot. Now, the originally simple and honest Yu Lingxue had actually started to play tricks. The evils he brought on himself were the hardest to bear. After retreating, Rui Badong was very puzzled. Scratching his head, he said, Boss, do we have to cut you into 7 or 8 pieces first in order to kill those few old fellows? I really don't understand what you're saying. Does Boss also have the ability to be immortal and indestructible? Chu Yang kicked him and said angrily, I'm not a bird. Get lost. I'm not a bird either. Rui Badong was extremely aggrieved. He said angrily, Which part of me looks like a bird? Dong Wushang said expressionlessly, You look like one in the crotch. Rui Badong was furious. You look like one in the crotch too. Chu Yang shouted angrily, What are you arguing about? All men look alike. Get lost. He turned to Dong Wushang and said bitterly, Wushang, you should let him see if you look like one. Dong Wushang was dumbfounded. Boss you, I'll go back and prepare. Chu Yang shrugged and left. Rui Badong winked and poked Dong Wushang. What did Sister Lei say after she saw it? Dong Wushang said with a black face, Your sister Lei, said, "Wow, you really look like an immortal and indestructible phoenix." Ribadong flew into a rage. He let out a strange cry and punched and kicked at him. The two of them instantly got into a fight. Or just happened to walk out and asked in surprise, "What are you two doing? You feel uncomfortable if you don't fight for a day, right?" Ribadong shouted, "Sister Lei, this bastard said that you said that he." Dong Wushang pounced on him furiously. "Shut up." He waved his fists and beat him up. Ribadong struggled to speak, but Dong Wushang desperately stopped him. Mo Lei's face was full of doubts. That night, Dong Wushang was beaten up by Mo Lei. Miss Mo was very angry and also very wronged. She gave him a good beating. When did I see it? 3 days later, Chu Yang, Dong Wushang and Ribadong bade farewell to their relatives. The three of them set off from the main gate of the Chu clan and disappeared on the long road of the flat mountain ridge like a whirlwind. "Boss, where are we going this time?" "Northwest." "Northwest? How far?" "From here, 47,000 miles. It's so far. It'll definitely be fun on the way." "Yes, you immortal bird, dying and coming back to life again and again. It'll definitely be fun." Wah! The three of them rushed out of the flat mountain ridge. At this moment, it was already spring and flowers were blooming. The land was lush and green. As far as the eye could see, it was full of spring sunshine. The three of them were somewhat smug. Both Ribadong and Dong Wushang were very excited. This time, it was the first time after 3 days that they would truly roam the martial world with their boss side by side. Galloping in the upper three heavens. Chu Yang took the lead, Dong Wushang on the left and Ribadong on the right. The three brothers' backs were ramrod straight and their horses were like dragons. Dust billowed as they disappeared at the end of the road. "Northwest, I'm coming." Wind thunder platform. The fifth fragment of the tribulation sword. "I'm coming." Chapter 1159. They continued to travel day and night, and continued to cross mountains as if they were flying. The scenery along the way was no different from the last time Chu Yang went out to the southeast, but his state of mind was completely different. Last time, he was fearful and uneasy about his future position, but this time, he was full of ambition. After the medicine banquet, who didn't know Chu Yang in the world? The #1 pharmacist in the world. Chu Yang. Who didn't know Chu Yang in the big clans? Apart from the Tribulation Sword Master, he was the most potential enemy. Along the way, Chu Yang and the other two talked and laughed and reminisced. It was here that Lu and I met Wei Wun. Chu Yang smiled, and there was an indescribable kind of reminiscence and longing in his smile. Here, Wei Wun fought with Wan Renjie and the other two. Here, I met Wan Renjie. Here, I saved Wei Wuyen, and also got the poisonous inner elixir of the human face rainbow spider. Here, I fought with the Shao clan. Here, I met Yu Lingxue for the first time, and he sealed 3,000 miles in ice. From here, I entered the Black Blood Forest. Crossing the Black Blood Forest again, Chu Yang's heart was sour. The jade token in his arm seemed to be emitting a scorching aura, warming him, but also reminding him, "If we meet again in the clouds, please sweep away the fallen flowers in Jianghu." The journey was very peaceful, so peaceful that the three of them couldn't get used to it. Since coming out from the flat mountain ridge, crossing the southeast, thousands of miles, and crossing the Black Blood Forest, they actually didn't encounter anything. They didn't even see any big spirit beasts. They just came here as if they were on a sightseeing tour. They couldn't help but feel a little bored. Just in front, the three big clans surrounded Wei Wuyen and his master Hong Wuliang, and Le, big sister Z and I met here. Speaking up to this point, Chu Yang suddenly stopped. This was because he had discovered something. Along the way, he basically saw packs of wild wolves, and his memory reached this point. There should be the biggest pack of wild wolves, and the 7 masters of the Lan clan were fed to the wolves by him. But where was the wolf pack now? There wasn't even a single wolf here? Chu Yang was bewildered as he looked around. Ribadong asked, "What's wrong?" Chu Yang said indifferently, "Nothing much. I was just thinking that we encountered so many wolf packs along the way. Why are there no wolf packs here?" Ribadong looked around and said, That's true. The mountains here were high and the forests were dense. It was indeed a suitable place for wolves to roam about, but there were none. Haha, don't tell me they were all killed? You're right. A gloomy voice said, the wolves were all killed by someone. Furthermore, I was the one who killed them all. The three of them were startled. They saw a cloud of mist in front of them and an old man in green robes appeared. This green-robed old man had a pale complexion and a slender body. His eyes flickered with light as he looked at the three of them. The three of them felt a chill in their hearts. This person's cultivation was extremely high. The three of them didn't notice him at all, but he had actually appeared out of nowhere. From this, it was clear that he was a Jizuan realm expert, and an advanced Jizuan realm expert at that. The green-robed old man's gaze swept across the three of them. Then, his gaze landed on Chu Yang's face. Little doll, what did you say just now? You've seen the three super clans besieging Wei Wuyan and his master Hong Wuliang here? The green-robed old man asked with his hands behind his back. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. He remembered something. Two souls are connected, and one heart is united. Could it be that this old man was the one who used the secret technique on Lan Ruiyun? Chu Yang rolled his eyes and an idea came to him. Yes. Chu Yang said neither humbly nor overbearingly, I was walking from here at that time and happened to see the great battle. I didn't dare to show myself, so I secretly observed for a while. However, I only took one look and left immediately for fear of getting into trouble. The green-robed old man pondered for a while and actually didn't continue to ask. Instead, he asked, What's your name? I'm Gu Duxing. Chu Yang said frankly, May I know who you are? Gu Duxing. The green-robed old man smiled and said, Gu Duxing? Martial Saint level at such a young age. Why haven't I heard of such a young hero in the upper three heavens? That's because you're ignorant. Rui Badong said, My second brother Gu is one of the three influential figures in the upper three heavens. How can he be a nobody? The green-robed old man rolled his eyes and said lightly, So you're a talent of the upper three heavens. Chu Yang said, I don't dare to. My younger brother's words are rude. Please forgive him. The green-robed old man said casually, If I get angry even over such things, I'll really be angry for a long time. He turned and asked Chu Yang, Gu Duxing, there's a Gu clan in the upper three heavens? When did you come up to the upper three heavens? Chu Yang said without blinking, My Gu clan is also considered a famous clan in the upper three heavens. 1 year ago, I followed the law enforcement officers up to the upper three heavens. The green-robed old man pondered for a while and said, Then, you're from the law enforcement officers? I don't have such qualifications. However, my teacher is a law enforcement officer. Chu Yang answered very cautiously. May I know who your teacher is? Asked the green-robed old man. Chu Yang looked hesitant and said, This? The green-robed old man sneered. You didn't just leave from here last time, right? Instead, you shouldered a mission? Chu Yang was shocked. He took 3 steps back at once. I don't really understand what you mean. The green-robed old man chuckled. Lang Ilang invited the 3 super clans to besiege Hong Wuliang, but he didn't send anyone himself. You are that person? Chu Yang's expression changed. Please forgive me for not understanding what you mean. He bowed. I'll take my leave now. But the 3 of them had just left when the green-robed old man's figure swayed again. He said, Gu Duxing, you're Lang Ilang's younger brother. Chu Yang was shocked. I don't understand. I still have something important to attend to. I'll pay you a visit in the future. The green-robed old man put on a fake smile. No matter how tight your mouth is, it's already useless. Chu Yang's face turned green and white. He said, I don't understand what you mean. The green-robed old man sneered. Lang Ilang was afraid that the 3 super clans would go against him in secret, so he sent someone here to investigate. The person he sent was naturally his favorite brother. Therefore, you definitely didn't leave after just taking a look. Instead, you watched from the beginning to the end. Chu Yang remained silent. There was a look of panic on his face. I only care about you. How did Lan Ruiyun, 7th young master Lan, die? The green-robed old man stared at him. I only want to ask you this. Answer me truthfully and you may leave. Otherwise, even if Lang Ilang himself was here, he definitely wouldn't dare to move if I told him not to. Chu Yang said hurriedly, but I didn't see. That green-robed old man didn't wait for him to finish. Suddenly he shouted, Lan Ruiyun was killed by you. This shout was made with an incomparable amount of mental energy. Chu Yang turned pale with fright. He said hurriedly, Elder, 7th young master Lan's death has nothing to do with me at all. It has nothing to do with me. The green-robed old man laughed sinisterly. So you did see it. Then he stepped forward with his hands behind his back. Speak. If you don't die. Chu Yang's expression changed. He was clearly struggling internally. He said, I can speak, but I have 2 requests. The green-robed old man said indifferently, Speak. His heart was already extremely anxious. He was more than 1,000 years old, and he had an only son by accident. However, he died again. He followed the spiritual resentment to find him, but he didn't expect that he would find a pack of wolves. After killing all of the wolves, he found the pack of wolves. After killing all the wolves, he searched everywhere but didn't find any traces at all. Now, he finally saw a ray of hope. The first request after I tell you, you must not make things difficult for us, said Chu Yang. Easy. You only need to tell me truthfully. Why would I make things difficult for you? The green-robed old man nodded. The second request, you must not reveal that I was the one who told you. Chu Yang said solemnly, the other party is very powerful. I definitely won't dare to provoke such an enemy. All right. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. You're right. My teacher is Enforcer Lang. The last time I came, I was indeed here to check on progress. The green-robed old man revealed an expression that said, as expected. Continue. After reaching here, there was a huge battle. Hong Wuliang and his disciple escaped with serious injuries. Then, they escaped from the pass guarded by 7th young master Lan. Chu Yang said, the other 2 people were extremely dissatisfied. It can't be. The green-robed old man frowned. The people from the Lan clan who came back then were several times more powerful than Hong Wuliang. They could actually break through from the Lan clan with serious injuries? Yes. 7th young master Lan coughed. Saw a beauty. Chu Yang said rather embarrassedly, she was indeed an outstanding beauty. The green-robed old man obviously knew his illegitimate son's temperament better than anyone else. He nodded. Where did such a beauty come from in the middle of the night? Chu Yang said, this? I really don't know. But I heard that Zhuge clan's young master Zhuge recently took in a new concubine. These 2 matters seem to be completely unrelated. However, murderous intent flashed across the green-robed old man's eyes. He said, continue. Chu Yang said, at that time, the other 2 elders accused Duke Lan of neglecting his duty, but Duke Lan wasn't convinced. Moreover, he took the initiative to strike first. Young Master Zhuge seemed to be seriously injured, the green-robed old man thought. With Lan Ruiyun's character, it's not impossible for such a thing to happen. In fact, it's highly possible, then, that Zhuge clan's young master tried his best to stop the conflict and apologized to 7th young master Lan. Chu Yang frowned and said, originally, things should have stopped at this point. At that time, I was rather far away. When I saw the 3 clans walking together and about to leave this place, I was about to go back and report. But I suddenly realized that the 3 clans who were originally walking side by side, the Yi clan and the Zhuge clan, suddenly joined forces to attack the Lan clan. This matter is really extremely strange. Chu Yang frowned and said, I still can't figure it out. It's rare for someone to be given the right once, and they're starting to spread rumors about me. When did I hug a teddy bear to sleep last night? It's really comical. I'm already so old. It's just that when I wake up, I'm still very hurt. I remember that before I went to sleep, I was still in first place. Now, I've become second place, and I'm 500 votes away from first place. I'm going to faint. So fast? Begging for votes. I'll continue to write. Second update. Third update. Chapter 1160. The elderly man in green snorted. Strange? What's so strange about that? Chu Yang didn't say anything. The elderly man in green said, in that case, the ones who killed Lan Ruoyun were from the Zhuge clan and the Yi clan? Chu Yang hesitated for a moment before he replied, not entirely. Later on, Duke Lan was so severely injured that he couldn't move. An expert from the Zhuge clan who saw him seemed to have said something. Then he went into the forest and caught a wolf. The elderly man in green's eyes were full of murderous intent. He shouted furiously, stop talking. Chu Yang immediately kept quiet out of fear. The elderly man in green's face was dark. No one knew what he was thinking about. For a long time, he didn't move. Then, as if talking to himself, he said, Gu Duxing, when things get serious, are you willing to testify for me? Chu Yang was thinking about what to do next. When he heard him call him Gu Duxing, he almost didn't react. He said cautiously, please forgive me for not being able to make the decision. Everything depends on Master's wishes. The elderly man in green said dispassionately, of course. When the time comes, I will naturally go to the law enforcement headquarters and ask Lang Ilang to come out. Chu Yang said, if Master agrees to step in, I will naturally not shirk my duty. The elderly man in green smiled dispassionately and said, all right. Suddenly, he disappeared in front of the three of them. His voice came from the void. When the time comes, I will look for the both of you. Dong Wuxiang and Rui Badong cooperated without saying a word. When they saw that the elderly man in green had left, they wanted to ask something, but Chu Yang stopped them. The three of them continued on their journey in silence. They sped up the entire way until they were about 400 to 500 miles away on the main road. Only then did Chu Yang breathe a sigh of relief. Boss, I don't really understand this matter. Rui Badong had been holding it in for a long time. Now that he could finally ask, he couldn't wait to talk about it. What's there to not understand? Chu Yang smiled dispassionately. This lie will be exposed very easily. That man doesn't have a disciple called Gu Duxing. The moment the two of them meet, the lie will be exposed. Rui Badong said, when the time comes, this person will come looking for you. That Lang Ilang, who claims to be the chief clan master of the law enforcement interrogation hall, will also come looking for you. This doesn't really match your usual way of doing things, boss. It's good that it's exposed. Chu Yang smiled and said, what I'm afraid of is that the law enforcement master of the torture hall won't come looking for me. It's great that he came to find me. Dong Wuxiang and Rui Badong were extremely puzzled as they looked at him in bewilderment. Chu Yang smiled mysteriously and made a face at the two of them. Chu Yang's heart was beating fast. He was thinking of a passage. The purple crystal hand can only be cultivated in a purple crystal mine with a high concentration of purple crystals. After successfully cultivating it, he would be able to maintain the power of the purple crystal hand. Once injured, or if the amethyst hand divine art suffers a destructive blow, the only way to truly recover is to return to the original place of cultivation. As for the third section of the Calamity Sword, it has a name called Purple Qi from the East. Only a place like this could hide for 10,000 years. In other words, it was a place where one could cultivate the amethyst hand. I'm more than 50% confident that I'll be able to find it. Chu Yang smiled in his heart. Lang Ilang was at the law enforcement headquarters. If he were to go to the headquarters with his current strength, he would undoubtedly be courting death. If he were to come out of seclusion to look for this Gu Duxing, under the pressure of this green-robed man, that would be the best outcome. Therefore, the moment Chu Yang saw this green-robed man, he had already decided on this strategy. Even though it was a little risky, and this lie could easily be exposed and there were many dangers involved, Chu Yang was willing to accept this risk. What he wanted was to be exposed. This green-robed old man was undoubtedly that Lan Ruoyun's real father. He was that old man who had made a cuckold out of his own grandchild. This time, even though he was half skeptical of Chu Yang's words, he would definitely go to the Zhuge clan and the Yi clan to ask. Once he did, this old man would definitely be even more confused. Therefore, his next step would definitely be to look for Lang Yilong. Once he looked for Lang Yilong, his lie would be exposed. Given this green-robed old man's capabilities, he obviously wouldn't be able to find this Gu Duxing of his from the incomparably vast heavens continent. It must be the law enforcement master of the law enforcement hall, Lang Yilong, who gave the order. This way, he would be able to gradually get closer to Lang Yilong. However, the prerequisite was that he had to go through countless bloody killings. However, how could there be no killings in the martial world? Chu Yang and the other two traveled thousands of miles, cutting diagonally from the southeast all the way to the northwest. On this day, they had already entered the Yi clan's territory. However, they could also clearly sense that the closer they got, the more tense the atmosphere became. The three of them didn't understand what was going on. They wanted to find someone to ask, but everyone was in a hurry. After a few more days, it seemed like everyone was scurrying back and forth with a portrait in their hands. Everyone had a look of indignation on their faces. When Dong Wuxiang saw that the town ahead wasn't very far away and that the population was gradually becoming denser, he finally couldn't take it anymore. With his saber on his back, he stood in the middle of the road like an iron tower and stopped three people with portraits in their hands. "The three of you, I have something to ask you." The three of them looked at him warily. "What is it?" Dong Wuxiang pointed at the portraits that the three of them were holding and asked, "What is this?" Seeing Dong Wuxiang's rude and unreasonable attitude, one of them said discontentedly, "Why should we tell you?" Before he finished speaking, Dong Wuxiang had already grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. I'll tell you." That person immediately begged for mercy. This fellow was young, but he was actually lifted up without even being able to see him clearly. It looked like he was an expert. "This is the portrait of the evil bandit Chu Yang." With a look of indignation, that person unfolded a portrait. Chu Yang was leaning sideways to listen. He was looking at the movements in the distance. His heart was moved when he heard these words. So, he immediately changed his appearance. The evil bandit Chu Yang? Dong Wuxiang flew into a rage. How did Chu Yang become an evil bandit? That person wasn't afraid at all this time. He said, that evil bandit Chu Yang actually killed everyone in the Medicine Valley. What kind of highly respected seniors were the physicians of the Medicine Valley? They saved the world and cared for the people. Now, Chu Yang has actually lost his mind and killed them all. Such a bastard, isn't he an evil bandit? Or what? Chu Yang killed everyone in the Medicine Valley? Dong Wuxiang and Rui Badong looked at each other. Even Chu Yang, who was listening at the side, couldn't help but widen his eyes. When they opened the portrait, all three of them were stunned. On it was Chu Yang's portrait. Sharp brows and starry eyes, what a handsome young man. This portrait actually drew a 70 to 80% resemblance to Chu Yang's appearance. In particular, that calm and evil aura, simple and honest with an eccentric aura, was even more lifelike. The three of them were stunned. After the medicine banquet, Chu Yang received the title of the world's #1 physician. The Medicine Valley conferred him the title of the 7th High Priest with a lofty status. However, no one expected Chu Yang to harbor evil intentions. He came with a motive, his motive, to destroy the Medicine Valley. After Chu Yang followed the experts into the Medicine Valley, he made use of everyone's trust in him and poisoned the water source of the Medicine Valley. Then, one by one, he killed so many good people in the Medicine Valley. Every last one of them was slaughtered. And after he killed them, he even set a big fire and burned the entire Medicine Valley to the ground. Such behavior is truly deranged. Everyone has the right to punish him. After some understanding, Chu Yang and the other two finally understood the whole story. The Medicine Valley was suddenly destroyed a few months ago. This matter caused a huge uproar in the entire heavenly layer. It was said that the law enforcement officers and the big clans didn't dare to be negligent and immediately launched a thorough investigation. After that, all the traces of the investigation indicated that the perpetrator was the newly promoted 7th High Priest of the Medicine Valley. The one who was recently elected as the world's #1 physician, Chu Yang. All the corpses in the Medicine Valley were confirmed except for Chu Yang's. From this point, they started to make breakthroughs and slowly dug to the bottom of the matter. Only then did they realize that Chu Yang was the real culprit. After that, after careful digging, they finally confirmed that this Chu Yang was actually an extraterrestrial demon. The so-called extraterrestrial demon was an extremely evil demonic organization. This demon was no different from a human, but it had always fed on human lives and increased its strength through eating humans. It was truly evil to the extreme. Hundreds of people went missing from the Medicine Valley. Those people must have been eaten by Chu Yang, the extraterrestrial demon. The extraterrestrial demon wandered outside the heavenly layer and had always wanted to occupy the heavenly layer and eat up all the people in the heavenly layer so that it would become a place for demons to breed. However, it was precisely because the law enforcement officers, the big clans and the Medicine Valley stood firm and formed an unbreakable iron triangle that ensured the stability of the heavenly layer for more than 100,000 years. Now, the Medicine Valley, one of the iron triangle, was actually uprooted by the extraterrestrial demon using such a despicable method. From this, it could be seen that the invasion of the extraterrestrial demon was just around the corner. Therefore, the big clans and the law enforcement officers jointly issued a statement, summoned the whole world to search for Chu Yang. This was a matter of great importance. Everyone in the heavenly layer had the responsibility to kill Chu Yang and interrogate him about the whereabouts and plans of the extraterrestrial demon. They must eliminate this endless calamity for the heavenly layer continent. This matter was so serious that it was actually issued by the Dharma Supreme himself, which was extremely rare. Moreover, it was stamped with the Dharma Supreme's seal. It emphasized the authenticity of this matter. The Dharma Supreme's seal was stamped on the law enforcement officer's search list. This was irrefutable evidence. It directly blocked any doubts about this matter. The Almighty Dharma Supreme had already confirmed the existence of this matter. What else do you have to say? You still have doubts about this matter? Could it be that the Dharma Supreme is inferior to you? Therefore, once the Dharma Supreme search warrant was issued, the whole world was instantly in a state of panic and began to search for Chu Yang together against a common enemy. After hearing such a strange legend, Chu Yang and the other two were stunned. If they guessed correctly, the destruction of the Medicine Valley was definitely done by the Dharma Supreme and the law enforcement officers. Who would have thought that such a huge pot of shit would actually be placed on Chu Yang's head? And it was done in such a solid manner. It was impossible to even defend himself. Did he have to defend himself in front of the whole world? Say that he was not an extraterrestrial demon? That there was no such thing as an extraterrestrial demon in this world? That all of this was a rumor made up by the Dharma Supreme? But who would believe it? When he saw the words of the Phoenix Dance Alliance master, his heart warmed. It was not the first time that Feng Ling had been misunderstood by others. Brother, you really don't have to clarify things for me. The more I say, the more mistakes I will make. I might as well not say anything. Here, I only wish you a safe journey. I would like to make a request to the Proud World brothers everywhere. We, the Proud World, need subscriptions. We, the Proud World, need a strong base of subscriptions to help us win every battle. We have been fighting alone for far too long. We have been fighting alone for far too long. Brothers, we need your help. Please have the ability of the World Pride brothers. Come to the net to join our World Pride team. Thank you. Chapter 1161. Would the people in the world believe Chu Yang? Or would they believe the Dharma Supreme? This was something that didn't need to be said at all. When the Dharma Supreme was at the heavens, he was supreme. That was unquestionable. Since the Dharma Supreme said that there were extraterrestrial demons, then there must be. You Chu Yang must be. You say no and it's not? Bring out the evidence. Even if you bring out the evidence, we won't believe you. Seeing that Chu Yang and the other two didn't make things difficult for them, the trio didn't dare to ask for the portraits and left quickly. Let the fun begin, I really don't know what to say anymore. Rubadong pulled at his hair, looking like he was about to break down. Fuck, such a ridiculous lie can actually be concocted and actually be believed by the whole world. This world is really crazy. Dong Wuxiang and Chu Yang were speechless. Extraterrestrial demons? What was that? This was no longer ridiculous, it was simply ridiculous. And it was ridiculous to a certain extent. Boss, this time, you are really in danger. Dong Wuxiang looked at Chu Yang and said word by word. Chu Yang didn't say anything, but sighed first. This time, it wasn't normal danger, but danger at every step. This matter was extraordinarily serious. Once this announcement was made, the whole world had already become his enemy. This is ridiculous. Rui Badong said angrily, for more than 100,000 years, we have never heard of any extraterrestrial demons. Now that the Dharma Supreme says it, they actually believe it. How stupid are these people? Chu Yang said quietly, it's not that they are stupid, but that the Dharma Supreme's prestige is too high. He sighed and said, this move is really vicious. The people of the world are actually very easy to fool. The three of them looked at each other, helpless. This kind of situation was absolutely unexpected. Now, not only the big clans, but the whole world was Chu Yang's enemy. And there was a reason for this. Many of them were hot-blooded heroes. If Chu Yang's identity was recognized, it would be a tragic end. Once he fought back, it would definitely confirm the brutal reputation of the extraterrestrial demons. But if he didn't fight back, was he supposed to wait for death? Not good. Dong Wuxiang said, since they can do this, then they will definitely mobilize people to besiege the Chu clan in the southeast. I'm not worried about that side. Chu Yang frowned and said, with the Moon Breeze elders and Wu Jueqing there, no matter how many people go, it will be of no use. However, along the way, the three of us need to change our appearances. Let's avoid this storm first. I'm afraid that even a disguise won't help. Dong Wuxiang sighed. True enough. As the three of them walked forward, more and more people gathered around them. They were all talking about Chu Yang. There were more and more, and the information was getting more and more accurate. How Chu Yang gained the trust of the Medicine Valley, how he snuck into the Medicine Valley, how he poisoned them, how he killed them, how he ate them, and how he left. Everything was vividly portrayed. How to sneak into the continent. This should have been done a long time ago when he came to the Chongtian continent. At that time, there was no one on the continent with the surname Chu. Thus, the Chu clan appeared. Chu Yang was actually the elder ancestor of the Chu clan, but because of the characteristics of the extraterrestrial demon that ate humans, he maintained his immortal appearance. This extraterrestrial demon had prepared for a long time before he finally chose the opportunity of the medicine banquet to sneak into the Medicine Valley. Moreover, the law enforcement officers began to reorganize themselves quickly and decisively. The law enforcement master of the southeast region, Han Xiaoran, was a bad judge of character and recommended the extraterrestrial demon as a pharmacist. His participation in the medicine banquet led to this disaster. Although Han Xiaoran didn't know about it, he couldn't shirk his responsibility. He was transferred out of the southeast region and demoted to an ordinary iron plate law enforcement officer. He was sent back to the headquarters for trial. Sha Xinliang and the rest of the law enforcement officers of the Flat Mountain Ridge had been derelict in their duties. All of them were transferred back to the headquarters for punishment. The person in charge of the Flat Mountain Ridge's auction hall, Qin Baoshan, the person in charge of the Blood Payers Hall, were all removed from their duties and sent back to the headquarters for trial. The henchmen of the extraterrestrial demon Chu Yang, including Dong Wuxiang, Rui Badong, and the rest, were all painted and wanted by the world. It was estimated that Dong Wuxiang and Rui Badong were also the incarnations of the extraterrestrial demon. Meng Charan was the teacher of the extraterrestrial demon Chu Yang. He should be an extraterrestrial demon of the older generation and wanted to be punished by the world. Along the way, Chu Yang kept hearing such news. He was very anxious. It didn't matter to him. He wasn't even worried about his family. With the Moon Breeze couple and Wu Jueqing around, even if the Dharma Supreme came personally, he wouldn't be able to get anything out of it. However, what happened to Han Xiaoran, Sha Xinliang and the rest made Chu Yang furious. It's fine if you want to deal with me alone, but why do you want to implicate innocent people too? What should we do? After hearing about what happened to Han Xiaoran and the rest, the three stopped in a small town. Dong Wuxiang looked at Chu Yang and asked. Chu Yang stood by the window and looked at the night sky outside. He didn't move for a long time. When I went to the law enforcement department, Brother Sha once said that they might be transferred. Now I know that he said that to comfort me, so that I wouldn't be worried. The real situation is, they're actually being interrogated. Chu Yang said coldly, Brother Sha and Brother Qin have both helped me a lot, and the Dharma Supreme hates me to the core now. If they're really taken back to the law enforcement headquarters to be interrogated, they'll really die. Even Han Xiaoran won't be able to escape death. So, we must take care of this matter. Chu Yang said heavily. However, this matter is definitely a trap. Ru Badong said seriously, which was rare for him. Boss, you shouldn't have thought that the law enforcement officers spread this news to lure you to intercept them and rescue them. Therefore, the people who are escorting them are definitely experts. Moreover, we didn't hide the news all the way out of the southeast. So, they must know that we're out, but no one intercepted us along the way. That meant that all of their arrangements were here. They're all on the way to escort Han Xiaoran and the rest. Firstly, we're too far away from the southeast. Moon Breeze couple can't provide support in time. Secondly, you can't go back and get reinforcements in time. Rui Badong analyzed. After all, we don't have the means of communication like the law enforcement officers and the big clans. So, we have to rely on ourselves to complete everything. And with the strength of the three of us, against those experts, it's really no different from sending ourselves to our deaths. It had to be said that Rui Budong's analysis was very logical and meticulous. This analysis made Chu Yang and Dong Wuxiang see him in a new light. How can I not know? Chu Yang sighed heavily. His eyes were resolute. Not only that, this conspiracy is linked together. Even if we annihilate the law enforcement officers and the big clans, we still have to face the pursuit of the whole world. It's extremely vicious. Chu Yang said quietly, but if it were you, would you save them? They've helped me a lot. No matter what, I have to save them. Even if I die. I, Chu Yang, have lived my life with a clear conscience. If I don't save them, I can't get over this in my heart first. Save them. We have to save them. But we have to consider how to save them? How to save them? Only then is it safe. Even if we save them, they're bound to be in the same situation as us. Enemies of the whole world. Difficult to move. What should we do in the future? Dong Wuxiang pondered. Everyone felt that this was an incomprehensible situation. No matter what, it was already a foregone conclusion. Even if they saved them, how could they change the mindset of the whole world? This was something that they were absolutely powerless to do. To change the mindset of the whole world unless... Chu Yang murmured. A sharp light flashed across his eyes. His right hand grabbed deeply into the wall. Unless what? Dong Wuxiang and Rui Badong asked at the same time. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. He sighed deeply. To change the mindset of the whole world, there was only one thing that could be done. And that was to expose his identity as the Tribulation Sword Master. Everyone knew that the Tribulation Sword Master was the savior of the heavenly realm. Anyone could completely overturn or even destroy the heavenly realm, but not the Tribulation Sword Master. Because the Tribulation Sword Master was born to save the world. No matter how much killing was done, the Tribulation Sword Master only had one goal. That was to nourish the heavens. And law enforcement officers had always been the Tribulation Sword Master's helpers. If Chu Yang's identity was exposed, even the Dharma Supreme would not be able to stand. So, once Chu Yang's identity was exposed, it was equivalent to giving the Dharma Supreme a tight slap. From then on, the Dharma Supreme's reputation would be ruined. And the various rumors about the extraterrestrial demon would also collapse on their own. But could he expose his identity as the Tribulation Sword Master now? Chu Yang smiled bitterly in his heart. This was undoubtedly a fool's dream. If he exposed his identity now, there would only be one outcome. He would immediately be killed by the law enforcement officers and people from the big clans. Although there would be many experts dealing with an extraterrestrial demon like Chu Yang now, the real big shots would definitely not make a move. But if the identity of the Tribulation Sword Master was exposed, those big shots would definitely attack regardless of their identity. They would also kill Chu Yang. And now, Chu Yang had no power to fight back at all. The problem was that the Tribulation Sword Master was immortal. So, if Chu Yang died, the rumors would naturally continue. The extraterrestrial demon actually dared to impersonate the Tribulation Sword Master. In that case, except for a few people like Moonbreeze and a few others, everyone else would be killed by the crowd. And no matter how strong Moonbreeze and Wu Jueqing were, they could not slaughter the whole heavenly realm. So, it was absolutely not advisable to expose his identity. But if he did not, he would be beaten everywhere. This matter had reached an awkward situation where there was no way forward and no way back. The situation now is that we are forced into a dead end. Advancing is a mountain of knives, retreating is a sea of fire. Chu Yang said calmly, but there are some things that we must do. Tonight, attack the local branch of the law enforcement hall. Chu Yang's eyes flashed with cold and sharp light. I want to know the specific route and the correct route of the escorting of Han Xiaoran, Sha Xinliang and the others. He straightened his back and said lightly, there are some things that have to be done no matter what. Even if it's life and death, but there are some times in life where life and death are no longer important. This chapter will make up for yesterday. I will add another chapter tomorrow. I will ask for a few monthly tickets. Now is a turning point in the plot, it's quite troublesome. I will take a small notebook and lay on the bed to make a detailed outline. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.